It is Oshkosh Live, powered by Redbird Flight here on day 3, Ryan. Welcome back, everybody. It is day 3 here at the world's largest aviation extravaganza. It's me, Shawn Bean, with my intrepid co-host, writer-editor for the Fire Crown Aviation Brands and the founder of Aviation Geeks. Great to be with you here. It is 8:30 Central Time. Looking at the weather, it is overcast. Got a little weather coming in. You may not know, but our esteemed producer, Kaylee Nix, studied meteorology and was sharing a very nuanced, informed information about what was happening with the weather. I got a 920 on my SAT, so what I heard was
rain, sky
gray, waterfall.
What I heard was sloshkosh.
Well, we haven't hit sloshkosh proportions yet, but anyway, temperature is great. It's about 70 degrees. The Redbird booth here is just starting to open up. Knapp Street starting to get populated. So excited for another awesome day.
Yeah.
And great to be with you, Ryan.
Yeah, great day. Great to be with you too, Shawn. And, sorry it's raining on your last day here.
Well, we were talking about you behind your back last night with some of your colleagues.
Well, it goes both ways.
Okay. Well, it was actually a great story from one of our colleagues on the sales team. And I don't know exactly what the location was, but the brands were out at a booth or a presentation or exhibit with all the brands listed out. And this gentleman, older curmudgeonly gentleman, came up.
Yes.
You know where this is going?
I know where this is going now.
And came up to her and started talking about the brands and some of the news and some of the reporting. Very much a commercial aviation enthusiast. And so she said, rightly so, hey, stick around. You should talk to Ryan Ewing. He's the editor of Aviation Geeks, and he goes, I hate Ryan Ewing, and then goes into a diatribe about all the reporting that has clearly made him angry. But in any case, if you're watching, sir, this is the man right here.
Come on, find me. We'd love to chat.
Anyway, we had
a
pretty
friendly guy, right?
It was absolutely no reflection on you. It was just funny that this idea of whoever you were was this nefarious villain.
Our salesperson you were talking about tells me that story every year.
Okay. Well, now we just shared it with hopefully a few thousand people.
That's great because it was a good one.
So, but did you actually have something in turn? You said you actually had some gossip on me. Is that true?
Not that I think we can share on air.
Oh, okay. So let's get back to the action here. EAA produced this really awesome program for the show, and it actually is this really great section all by the numbers stuff about some of the, kind of monumental numbers related to the show, and I just thought a few of them were pretty awesome. 1,459 portable toilets.
But who's counting?
Clearly somebody is.
Yeah.
Which is actually funny. I'm using one of them out here for hair and makeup. I actually get Redbird to put some more money behind my dressing up.
Stay here a couple more days. You might be able to use all 15,000 of them.
Yeah. But a lot of really interesting stuff here. They're going to have 11,000 plus kids, youth visitors to Kid Venture, 861 exhibitors. There's actually 24.7 million people reached on the EAA social channels for this event. We got 30 tons of recyclables that'll get moved through here. And the other one, too, again, 4,429 rolls of toilet paper will be used here. And it's actually the equivalent in miles to the distance from Oshkosh to Orlando, which is my trip home.
So that's perfect for you.
Follow the paper trail, and you'll follow Shawn Bean on his road home to Orlando from Oshkosh, the most awesomest air event in the world. Again, we've got a great day of guests stopping by here at the Redbird booth. And so I believe we actually have an esteemed colleague with us here next to us, and we're going to talk a little bit about a very incredible, very awesome air show. And want to turn it over to Greg Gibson with the National Championship Air Races.
Greg, it's great to have you here. Good morning.
Good morning. So for the folks who are going to be watching our live stream, kind of maybe share a little boilerplate of the event.
Well, the fun thing is this being the first year of the National Championship Air Races in our new home of Roswell. Our boilerplate has been a little bit it hadn't gotten quite that hot yet.
Okay.
So it is. It's hot news, but as far as being able to use it very often, we've had 60 years of the National Championship Air Races, of course, in Reno. And then 2023 was the last year that we were given a license to fly there in that storied location. So Roswell now is our new home, and we are super excited about that. We've just had the warmest welcome from the people of Roswell, the people of southeastern New Mexico, the city, the state. Everyone there has just been absolutely just bent over backwards helping us come in and join that very storied community. There's a lot going on there, and it's got quite a history.
Now, isn't Roswell home of the UFOs? Is what they say.
That's it.
That's what they say. Have you seen one yet?
Well, that really depends on how you define some of the aircraft that show up.
There you go. That's a
there are
airport.
A number of different things, and Elvis has been there this whole time.
Yeah,
the whole time. So we expect him to be in there. He's like in row G in the grandstand already. But,
wow. So was there something that specifically prompted after, like you said, all those years at Reno, now moving to Roswell, New Mexico? Was there the purpose or impetus for that?
Well, as with all aviation, I think we all are experiencing some sort of developmental, in the name of progress, sorts of things where airports are being closed and certain encroachments are starting to affect the things that you can do at airports. So Reno Stead Airport there, sadly, was we would call it victimized by that attitude, and at that point we were compelled to find a new home. And we went through a very extensive process. We went through I actually wrote the RFP myself for the cities that were interested in hosting us to go through the criteria of what it would take to have the National Championship Air Races. And it's a pretty interesting list. I mean, there's a lot I think people are probably not aware of that goes into that. So certainly there was no book in moving a 60-year-old event from where it's been to where it's going. So we were sort of building the airplane in flight, if you will. We definitely knew we were going to race. We knew we were going to be able to put it somewhere. We had 38 cities originally apply for the chance to host the races. We narrowed that down to 6. And, again, a very, systematic process of trying to determine, first we had to be able to race. What is the most available open, unencroachable ground that we could find that we could fly over unimpeded and safely so that we could, conduct the races. And then, flying it up to 5 and even in soon 600 miles an hour on a race course, 50 feet off the ground, wingtip to wingtip with 7 or 8 of your closest friends is something that you just don't do in most locations. So that was the first criteria. And then, could the airport itself handle an audience that we tend to draw? Could they park? Could they sit?
Right.
Could they camp? Could they fly in? That's something that we are able to do now at Roswell that they could not do historically at Reno Stead. We have 400 general aviation parking spaces. So it's a very interesting dynamic and choice. Hotels are a little challenging. It's a little smaller area, but then so was Reno at the time that we took that when we came there. So it was all about racing. Could we race? Could we race safely? There's no field that's just, purpose-built. Let's just make sure that if racing ever comes our way, we've got plenty of unobstructed ground, no power lines and things like that. And said no one ever.
Right.
So, we really have had, Roswell was the best choice with all criteria concerned. We have had some infrastructure to build there, and the city and the state have been just remarkably accommodating.
So Greg, September, talk about what's going to happen in Roswell.
September 10th through the 14th, we've got our inaugural event there. We're 60 years old and brand new, as we like to say, and there's a quite the welcome, I think, for the National Championship Air Races in Roswell. We'll have our racing classes. 6 classes of racing will be there. Stoll Drag, of course, is one of the newer classes and very popular, so everyone that's enjoyed seeing the Stoll competitions here, and if they've seen Stoll Drag where they actually fly head-to-head. It's a 2,000-foot strip where they take off about 100 feet apart. They go down, land, turn around, and come back, and it's a drag race. So very, very, lots of fun. And those are kind of our surfer dudes that really make up that class, along with now the closed course pylon racing, which is, of course, the historic racing that we've had there at Reno since 1964. And very exciting. So we'll have, all of our infrastructures there. The city, again, has been over backwards. We're looking at having, outstanding Wi-Fi, for people to be able to come in and keep track of things on their phones
Sure.
and post to social media. That's something that's very difficult on an airport. We've done some just nuanced things. How do we not have generators buzzing in your ears all the time? So having actual power at the certain locations where we're going to want to do that. So very much a customer-based experience that, you're brand new, you get a chance to build something, whereas where you were before adding it isn't as easy as doing it from the get-go.
Yeah.
So really trying to pay attention to that infrastructure and that customer experience is something we're very focused on.
What can spectators expect to see?
Well, we got, of course, the 6 classes of racing that'll take place, and then we'll have the air show that's kind of acts like the intermission. Like people maybe have never been to the national championship air races or air racing at all. You have your heats. It's a lot like a NASCAR or NHRA type of format where they have heats and classes, but of course you have to reconfigure between those. And so in that downtime, there's an air show. So we'll have Jim Pites is performing in his Bonanza. We're going to have Philip Steinbach and the Gamebird out there performing. We'll have any number of military displays. And of course, on the ground, we have a huge military display. We have 82 acres of display area. So it's a massive field. It's roughly about 30% larger than we had at Reno. And, huge exhibition area, lots of big midway. There's almost nothing you couldn't purchase of an aviation flavor, kind of like here. There's just about anything you can imagine on the midway. And then great food, lots of experiences. I heard, you guys were mentioning student activities.
Yeah.
We have a STEM Discovery Zone that will host 6,000 to 7,000 students during the week. So it's an amazing community outreach. It's something that we're really proud of, and it's something that's part and parcel to the races.
Yeah. So as someone who's a point person for this, incredible, very, very intense event, are you a daredevil? Are you someone who I wouldn't want to ride in a car with? Like, how does one find himself in your role?
I think what you have to do is it's all about being in the right place at the right time. I've been very blessed in this industry to have worked in a number of different areas. So I've worked for air show teams. I was with the legendary Greg Poe. I was his team coordinator for about 5 years, and I've worked with the Titan Aerobatic team, formerly Aeroshell, for about 20 years. And I was the air show director and the chief marketing officer for Sun and Fun for about 8 years.
Okay.
Wow, all right.
So you know a lot of people. And then about 4 years ago, when I decided I would just kind of go back into free agency, and Fred Telling, who's the CEO of the National Championship Air Races, Reno Air Racing Association, at that point they were kind of in need of a pitch man, I guess.
Yeah.
And we were coming back from COVID, and a lot of things were building at that point, so I was very fortunate to have that connection, and here I am.
That's great.
Excellent. So Oshkosh, here we are. For you, what does this event mean? Obviously, I'm sure networking, spreading the word about the move to Roswell. Anything you're particularly excited about, or you've already seen that has made an impression on you?
Oshkosh is the greatest aviation adventure that someone can have. This is my 20th year of coming to this event. And, I can recall just looking at how it's evolved, even in the time I've been here. Obviously, I'm not even half of the time that it's actually been here. But it's a gathering of people that love aviation. And we always kind of talked about it, especially when I was at Sun and Fun. We talked about the idea that you had to do all three. You had to do Sun and Fun. You had to do Oshkosh. You absolutely had to do Oshkosh. But if you hadn't seen the National Championship air races, it's a whole different vibe with all your friends. So it was kind of like this Brigadoon out there in the mist, especially people on the eastern half of the country that had never crossed the Mississippi River to go to an aviation event. You had to kind of make a journey, to get there. But it's amazing now how many people I see walking around with Reno Air Racing, National Championship Air Racing shirts. I see a lot of our friends from Pylon Racing School. We just saw them. I saw them at the Swamp last night in the Warbird campground. Lots of people that are here and experience it. Several have actually experienced the Roswell Race Course now. So the word is being spread. We're getting a lot of excitement about what it's going to be, and things are starting to really, really take shape as far as what the aviation community's expectation is going to be like.
Yeah, yeah. I love it. I don't know if everybody can hear it, but the vibration is there.
I know.
Oh,
in your chest cavity for the Titan guys, right?
So for those who will be attending or considering attending, like if you could pick a 3 to 5 second moment from the National Championship air races that is just like the wow moment, almost like main event, viral moment, like what do you think is the coolest thing that spectators will see?
It's got to be the culmination of the gold races, when they actually on Sunday, when they all the week's work and everyone that's actually finally ground it down to the final, the final race, that's going to determine who's carrying home the trophies. I think if you ever get a chance to go out to the pylons and actually feeling the thunder of jets, reciprocating engines coming around the corner, you can feel it in your chest cavity. It vibrates your very soul when they're coming around the corners. And then, of course, watching the coming across the finish line there at home pylon, something really neat about this course versus the last 60 years is that what we call the Valley of Speed used to be on the backside of the course. There was a little bit of a terrain change from high to low, and they had about 150-foot elevation change, so that was the Valley of Speed where the racers could kind of come downhill. And Roswell's a lot flatter. There's not much. It's probably like a 20-foot elevation change for the whole course. So now the Valley of Speed is actually right in front of the crowd. The longest straightaway is right in front of the crowd, so they'll have the highest speeds coming across the finish line.
Incredible.
So it's going to be really, really fantastic.
So cool. So for anyone looking, a website, or where's the best place to find more information about the National Championship air races?
Well, airrace.org, just like it sounds, airrace.org is the best place to find it. We do have a number of, as I mentioned, everybody knows, we're not hiding from the idea that we have a hotel problem. There's a lot of people that want to come and not a lot of places to put them, but we just have put together with American Dream Vacations RV rentals that they can actually just all packaged up, linens ready to go, parked on site. You show up, they hand you the keys, and you've got an RV right there on the ground. So we do have a neat proposition there. Some hotels around the area, within about a 60 to 90 mile radius around the area have got some great availability still.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of availability for people to still be able to come. Our ticket sales are great. We actually are having a very normal ticket sale year, which is incredible, and we're looking forward to seeing how this first year shakes out and then building on it from there.
Yeah. Well, Ryan is camping here, so you're already prepared to make the trip to Roswell, are you not?
Well, we find our way down.
There you go.
It's probably only a couple hours down from here to Roswell.
Well, there's a big difference in the way people on the east side of the country think about driving somewhere versus the west coast, right?
Oh, yeah.
You live out west. It's like, hey, it's 3 hours to Albuquerque. You want to go have lunch?
Yeah, right.
They're like, sure. Around here, it's like, it's going to take us about 20 minutes to get across the field. Like, oh, no way.
That's too far.
Right?
Yeah. Very cool. Very special thanks to Greg Gibson with the National Championship Air Races for stopping by. Airrace.org is where to go to learn more about this incredible event. Congratulations. Wishing you many, many years in Roswell, New Mexico with this big move. Thank you, Greg. We continue here at Oshkosh Live, powered by Redbird Flight. Speaking of Redbird, they've been sharing a lot of stories over the past few days. Here's one more Redbird story for you. Take it away.
There's a lot. I wanted to be a pilot, but I always wanted to be a pilot, but I love aviation. I would love to fly. Me too. I just picked up the phone and started walking forward, right? One step at a time, sometimes a couple steps back, but you keep moving forward. My life is a series of random yeses. My passion for flying came from the original Top Gun. And so that movie came out my senior year in high school, and my best friend and I told all of our friends that we were going to be fighter pilots. And he went to San Diego State, I went to Pepperdine, and he called as we were graduating and said, we said we were going to do it, I'm doing it. And I said, okay, I'll do it too. And I literally pulled out the yellow pages, called the Navy the Los Angeles Recruiting Depot for the Navy. And I got accepted. And 2 weeks before I left for the Navy, I went to Santa Monica Airport. There was a learn to fly, $35 for 30 minutes. And so I went to the Santa Monica Airport, walked in the building and said, I'm going to Navy flight training in 2 weeks. Here's my $35. And the guy said, you're kidding, right? And I said, no. We were at a cocktail party and I'm learning to fly the F-18. and there was a PXO, so a guy that was going to be the prospective executive officer of a squadron in Japan. I didn't even know the Navy had squadrons in Japan. Then we're having a beer, and I said, "Oh, where are you headed?" And he said, "Oh, I'm going to VFA 192 in Japan." And I said, "Oh, that sounds cool." And he said, "You want to go?" And I said, "Yeah, let me check with my wife." And so then we ended up going to Japan, and Japan is incredibly carrier aviation focused. You spend a lot of time on the ship. So my carrier skills got very, very good. I became an LSO teaching the Marines how to land on the ship in San Diego, which is where I was from. So I got to fly fighters at home. It was great. And then got picked up for the Blues, and it just kept going. We moved to Colorado Springs. I got hired by United and assumed that all of the fighter jet flying was behind me. It was incredible. I was in my mid-40s, and then got asked if I was interested in joining the Patriot jet team, former Thunderbirds, former Blue Angels, and which led to Maverick and flying as a stunt pilot in that, which led to Mission Impossible 8. So a series of fortunate events. Aviation's done everything for me. I mean, the interesting thing, and I talk about saying yes, I was never afraid to walk through the doors of opportunity. I know dozens of incredibly qualified fighter pilots who didn't want to apply to the Blue Angels because they were afraid they wouldn't be picked. That never entered my mind. I just knew that I wanted to go all in and walk through that opportunity. There may be success on the other side. There may be failure on the other side, but I don't know until I walk through that door. And that's been true my whole life. Walking through one door opens up 2 other doors on the other side, which opens up 4 other doors, which opens up 8 other doors, and it just multiplies. Talk about Top Gun and how it impacted me full circle as an adult. 18 years old, the movie comes out. I see the movie, it looks great. Everybody remembers the opening scene, the steam out of the catapults, the F-18s, and I just thought that looks awesome. And pursued it and continued to pursue it. And I had a lot of good things go my way, but I also walked through a lot of those doors of opportunity. Now, 33 years later, I get a call to train the actors and actresses. And I thought that would be incredible, just to meet them and have some involvement in the sequel. Followed by 6 months later being asked to fly in it as a stunt pilot is still, I have to pinch myself. I mean, it's near unreal if it wasn't real. And so my Blue Angel training, my air show training, my combat training allowed me and prepared me for the role in Top Gun Maverick. But all of that training was inspired by Top Gun. It's full circle. I think there's 4 stages of life, at least there have been for me. As a fighter pilot specifically, it's amplified. In my 20s, I was arrogant. I didn't know what I didn't know. In my 30s, I was experienced. In my 40s, my kids are older. They're junior high, high school. My wife is at home. I've been gone a lot. And I have tremendous experience and leadership that I'm beginning to pass down. And now that I'm in my 50s, I recognize that our family has been very fortunate. And I want to be able to try and provide those opportunities to others, whether it's through inspiration and support, motivation, mentorship, and giving back. And I guess you could refer to it as a legacy phase. I'm not really concerned about my legacy. What I am concerned about is when I do pass, that somebody will say, I got to be in the Navy, fly airplanes, be a Blue Angel, fly with United, because I talked to Scott and it changed my life. For the dreamers, the people that want to be pilots, people that are considering to be pilots, whatever your passion is, I want to do X. Say yes, own your errors, learn from them, and ask for help. Everybody wants to help others succeed. You'll do great. Let's keep rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
All right, David, thanks for joining us. Oshkosh Live. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Central Cylinder and the work you guys do?
Well, we're a certified repair station out of Omaha, Nebraska. Family business. My dad actually got the repair station started in 1973, and we've been in the same location here just off of Epley Airport since 1983. So we've been around a minute. And, we started off with cylinders, obviously, since the name, but then we kept adding capabilities. And, we're a full service machine shop as well as a accessory shop and engine overhaul shop. And we've got 3 generations of Zarnickies down here now. So we're pretty proud of that.
Oh, that's great. Congratulations. That's really cool. What makes Central Cylinder different than other overhaul shops?
Well, I think what sets us just a little bit apart, there's a lot of good shops out there. This is a small community, general aviation, most all the shops, especially in this Midwest, Great Plains region, we know each other. We help each other out. We do business back and forth. But what makes us a little unique, I guess, is our capabilities list. There's several crankcase shops in the country, and there's lots of engine shops, but we are certified to weld and repair and overhaul crankcases, weld, repair cylinders. We can regrind cams, tappets, all the NDT work. We do mags, we do carburetors, we do fuel pumps. We don't farm anything out unless we need a crankshaft nitrided. So in other words, if you're an FBO and you're doing your own overhaul, I can do all your machine work, do your accessories, get you set up so you can do your field overhaul. And when it comes to this day and age with all the backlogs on getting parts and machine work, you bring me your engine. I don't have to wait 6 to 8 months to get a crankcase back or to get a cam ground. We do it in live real time. We tear down your engine. We rebuild your crankcase. If the cam needs to be reground or if we replace it, we can do it all in-house. So we're not waiting on other people. We're not waiting on shipping. And we also have all the quality control here. And on a consumer end, the customer, when they call here, the buck stops here, because I can't blame so-and-so did the crankcase call him, or, well, we didn't do the mag, call them. The buck stops here. So when we do the engine, we have a lot of control over it. We also have a lot better opportunity to service our customers if there is a problem after the job's done. So I think that's what makes us a little more unique than, some of the other overhaul shops.
Got it. What do you consider your biggest asset in business today?
My biggest asset in business today is absolutely my employees. I've got a good crew. We've got a gentleman here that's been with our family working full time since 1986 at our facility. My brother, Dan, we're co-partners in this. We're owners, and he's been here full time since 1984. My dad still comes in and checks on the guys and mentors the young guys. He's 81 years old and still loves the business. All of my people have been here quite some time, and they're all mechanical people. Their hobbies are airboats or race cars, or, we're all gearheads down here. And I think that just really, I don't have a high employee turnaround. So it's a family atmosphere. When something comes in the back door, by the time it leaves the front door, the same group of guys that are here all the time have handled that from cradle to the grave. And I think that's my biggest asset, along with our capabilities, being able to do whatever we need done in-house in real time. Like I said, that's really a big asset for, especially the past few years where a lot of cylinders, we haven't been able to get new cylinders. We like to do new cylinders on an overhaul, obviously. But if you can't get them, we can rebuild your cylinders here in real time and get that engine turned around quick. So that's a big asset.
Yeah. So how does the future of piston powered general aviation look to you?
Well, as an airport kid that grew up in this, and hanging around all the FBOs growing up and doing inspections with my dad and being a pilot for years myself, it's always been the doom and gloom in this industry. You've always heard piston engines are dead. The fuel's going to be gone. They're going to regulate us out of it. And I don't see that at all. GA's going. The flight schools can't keep up. They can't keep enough airplanes and enough engines in the sky. The private owners, especially the guys with RVs and all this new fun stuff, and the Cirrus owners, they're keeping it alive. The old airplanes are getting restored. I think it just keeps going. 20 years ago, I was kind of staring at that going, well, how's this going to be? And now I'm excited to have, the third generation of my family involved. And I've got some young, talented mechanics here that are involved. I think it's strong. I think it's got a bright future. I really do. I'm excited about it.
Cool. Well, that's great. What else do you want to talk, kind of talk about central cylinder and work you all do, and how can people find you?
Well, we it's a rarity for us to advertise. We just don't do a lot of it. But, what's happened in the past 10 years, 5 years or so, we've gotten so overwhelmed with outside work. In other words, pallets of crankcases coming, piles of connecting rods. So we've kind of retuned the business a little bit over the past few years to where we're still doing that work, but we're kind of controlling the gate, we're doing that by appointment, and concentrating more on our overhauls, prop strikes, IRANs, complete engines to speed up our turn time. And that's been pretty exciting for us, and we're really getting to where we can get an engine in and out quick, despite some of the hurdles. And that's been a good thing. And, we've been fine tuning our equipment over the years. When you've been in business this long, you've got 3 of everything already, but we just had a nice, state of the art, magnetic particle machine built for us, custom ordered a few years ago, that should carry us for a long time and things like that. We're always upgrading our equipment. It's just, pretty good stuff going on down here. Like I said, I enjoy the family aspect of our business. That's all of our employees. We're a pretty tight group, and we're a small shop though. That's what is a little bit of a thing. There's only 9 of us. That's not a lot for the amount of work we do. But you can find us on the web, centralcylinder.com, and that's about the only way to find us, or just give us a call. And we can handle about anything from a small repair to, complete engines and, all the accessories. We're the only company left in the world doing Simmons fuel injection, which for the old Queen Airs and Aero Commanders, not a lot of those out there, but we're still doing them. We have the rights to that, and a few unique things like that. Yeah.
It's great. Well, Dave, thanks for talking with us, and we were glad to have you here.
Yeah, I appreciate it. You guys have a good one.
We are back with Oshkosh Live, powered by Redbird Flight. Want to give a shout out to Ryan. Great produced segment there. Thanks for putting that together, sharing that center cylinder story. I am super excited and honored. We all are here to have our next guest. An incredible story and an incredible initiative. Please welcome Jamil Larkins with Aviation Start. Jamil, welcome to Oshkosh Live.
And Shawn and Ryan, thank you so much for having me today on this.
Oh, we're so excited to have you.
Rainy start to day 3 of Oshkosh.
Yeah, indeed.
Well, we call it here Sloshkosh.
Yeah.
So I was doing a little digging of dirt about you, getting ready for this segment. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I understand this all started with you playing a video game.
Yes.
Is that correct?
I was a self-proclaimed aviation nerd. I played Microsoft Flight Simulator for hours.
Too, growing up, man.
hours.
Remember the old 747 thing? The graphics were terrible.
They're absolutely horrible compared to what they are today.
Yeah,
completely.
The kids today are so spoiled with the new graphics.
But whether it's flight training or Microsoft Flight Simulator, they're definitely spoiled today compared to the past.
So you're playing Microsoft Flight Simulator, and then it's the seed is starting to be planted.
Yeah, so I was doing that for about 2 years, and then I finally got the courage to write on an aviation chat room for some odd reason and asked if anybody had any advice for a 12-year-old kid that wanted to become an airline pilot. Delta Airlines captain wrote me back and told me about the Young Eagles program. I took my first flight, and I was hooked.
That's amazing. So many fun facts and interesting, impressive, awesome facts about you. Jamil made history as one of the youngest American pilots to solo a Cessna 172 at just 14.
Wow.
Yeah, so
at 12, you're on chat. You're on a message board, getting in contact
and
with
2 years later,
it's
I'm
incredible,
up in
man.
Canada, soloing the Cessna 172 at 14.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So looking at your merch, we're here to talk about Aviation Start. Want to give you a chance to talk about this amazing platform. Tell us a little bit about that initiative, that project.
So I've been traveling around with the FAA as their ambassador for aviation education since 2005. We've gone to over 1,000 schools all across the country, trying to get more people involved inside the aviation industry. We get a lot of interest. The problem is there's still some big barriers to entry into aviation, one of them being cost. I knew that there was a ton of resources out there, but a lot of people just don't know where to go to find those resources. So I decided that we should create the largest aviation-focused scholarship and grant resource available. So aviationstart.org is just that. We have over $20 million worth of scholarships from all sorts of different organizations. One cool thing that a lot of people don't realize is that most air shows across the country have a scholarship fund. So the money that they make at the gate when they have people come in, a lot of that goes to actual aviation workforce development. So out of the 300 plus air shows across the country, I'd say over 100 plus of them, plus all of the major aviation organizations, whether you're talking about AOPA, EAA, the Commemorative Air Force, a lot of organizations give money, and we now have one place that you can go search for all of the opportunities that are out there and find one that fits you.
So how long has Aviation Start been around?
About 3 months, actually.
Oh, yeah?
We just announced it at Sun and Fun. And so far, we've had over 4,000 people register. It's completely free to be able to get access to the database. You just have to register online to get it, and then you can find these resources that are available. But in 3 months, more than 4,000 people.
Well, it's amazing to think about, where your journey started and how there's certainly a Jamil in that group, right?
Yes.
Who's about to start on their platform. Have you had a chance to interact with any of these early birds, as it were?
Yeah, so we're doing something, obviously the probably easiest way to reach out to the demographic that we're going after is social media. So I'm extremely active on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and getting the chance to actually hear from students that have found out about the aviation outreach programs as well as start applying for scholarships has been really cool.
Has there been any, what are the biggest challenges on starting something of this size and scope? I mean, you're talking about $20 million in grants. My wife works in that world. It ain't easy to write grants and get that level of money. Was it just right partners, right time? Tell us a little bit about that part of the story.
So the good thing is I've been in aviation outreach since I was 16. I was named the national spokesman for EA's Young Eagles program right here at Oshkosh at 16 years old a few years ago. And so I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of the players inside of the industry. So when I went to them and said, we need an easier way for people that want to enter the industry to find the resources or programs available to get their start in aviation, a lot of them came immediately willing to help and get this program off the ground. So it was kind of easy from that standpoint to get people on board to participate and give us the resources as well as all of the scholarship information and things available to make it an accurate database. I don't know if you guys know, just about a month ago, CAE released a report that said some really astonishing figures. Like 83% of all the mechanics that are working today are scheduled to retire within a decade. 83%. That's huge. And we do not have the pipeline to replace all of those people currently scheduled to get back into the aviation industry. So our industry, our community has a really big job of not only getting mechanics, but then also 50% of all the pilots that are going to be inside of the cockpit within the next decade are going to be new. So if we want to transfer that institutional knowledge that is existing inside of this community right now, we need to do a better job of getting more people into the pipeline to fulfill those positions.
Well, I can see this timeline working out for Aviation Start as this need is increasing, and your program will then, 10 years from now, we'll look back and say Aviation Start was a part of solving that. And such a great point. We were talking to someone yesterday about, you think of the aviation industry as being focused on like pilots, certainly, but it's a large, there's a large community of jobs and careers people can have beyond just, being a pilot.
I mean, you look at it, the major employers like Signature Aviation on the FBO side, you look at the FAA for air traffic controllers, you look at all the major airlines, but even outside of the 121 world, we need even more people inside of the business aviation side. So you think there's over 11,000 member companies that actually operate corporate aircraft, and who's going to be able to fly those airplanes in the near future if we don't get more pilots or air traffic controllers, mechanics, and airport operations?
Yeah. Well, Jamil, we're at Oshkosh. I would imagine that this is a place that whether or not you were discovering it at 12 years old and thinking about going to eventually, obviously, being here, and not just that, but being an ambassador in such an incredible way. Any particular moments or memories about coming here that stand out to you?
So this year, I used to fly air shows when I was a little bit younger. I flew Christian Eagle 2 on the air show circuit for about 5 years. Thanks to Bose, I had a wonderful opportunity to be able to go rekindle that aerobatic experience with Michael Goulian earlier at the very beginning of the show. Really cool experience, and I'm excited to be able to share that online here shortly.
Awesome. So where's the best place for kids, parents, everybody to find the Aviation Start story?
So I'm actually stationed at Bose throughout the week here at AirVenture. So if anybody has any questions about aviation scholarship opportunities, please feel free to come find me at the Bose tent this week.
And the website is aviationstart.org, correct?
Aviationstart.org, and you can find over $20 million worth of scholarship opportunities to be able to make your dreams in aviation become a reality.
Jamil Larkins with Aviation Start, incredible story. Thank you so much for sharing and being with us on Oshkosh Live. Have a great show, and wishing you continued success, sir.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
That was Jamil Larkins with Aviation Start. Awesome story for young kids you who are probably trying to find your community, right?
I remember the old days of the message boards and Flight Simulator. And yeah. You want to try Flight Simulator again, Shawn?
Yeah, of course.
There was one right there.
I don't know if you remember, but I went down in the Hudson about 17 times when we
did.
tried it last year.
I did. I think you actually went off the end of a aircraft carrier.
Multiple times.
Yeah.
Multiple times.
Yeah.
So here we are. Day 3 continues. We're headed toward wrapping up our first hour. Ryan, as I look out here, overcast, rain in and out, but it doesn't seem to be slowing anything down.
No, still going strong, even despite the slosh at Oshkosh.
That's right.
Oshkosh.
So we're actually blessed enough to have a colleague at the anchor desk with us, Ryan.
Yeah,
if you look to your right, I don't know if you recognize that fella.
Yeah, I don't. Not at all. A very familiar name. We have Keller Lassiter from Flying Finance joining us today.
Hey, everybody. Thanks so much. I'm really excited to be here. A little rainy today, but overall, good times, and we look forward to the fun that's going to be coming this week.
And don't forget the gentleman.
And, of course, we have David
Copeland. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Good to see you.
It's my privilege.
So why are we here, gentlemen?
We are here because recently we announced a large partnership between Bristol Aircraft and Flying Finance. We're now going to be one of their finance partners, helping their customers purchase airplanes through the means of finance. And we're super excited for the partnership, and we're looking forward to helping Bristol offer good, reliable financing to their clients.
So, talk to me about how this partnership kind of came about. Maybe, David, you want to start. Why'd you pick this guy?
Well, we'll get to that later. Some of that we can't talk on air about, but no. The whole Fire Crown organization, as well as Flying Finance, has always been at the top of our list as far as, our clients and customers and future prospect leads all need that. So whether it's taxes and the changes that are going on there, or whether it's financing, or whether it's insurance, we're always looking for that partner. And it just made a lot of sense to go with Flying. They have so much talent, so many resources, plus the visibility that they have across. And who doesn't like flying. I mean, I was telling him my story I tell every year is the license tag on my truck says flying. So, I mean, I'm that passionate guy that really believes that we want to help and exceed the expectations of every customer, and that we have to trust people like flying in your organization to do that, and that's why I picked Flying Finance, not necessarily Keller. I'm kidding. No, he's a great guy.
But I'll take it any way I can get it, so I appreciate it.
No, we're great friends and a great organization he's assembled, and the whole organization as well as you. And I want to say thank you for allowing me to come on today, because we want to spread the news not only about Oshkosh and the legacies that we've created here in the legend, but also what you all are doing for us. And this show right here, I'm plugging you all now, right? It is fantastic because, like I said, the more people we can get involved in flying, ownership, flying lessons, whatever it is at any age, I'm always saying, getting more people involved in our industry is so important. And this milestone and event that we've had for so many years is a great base point for that. And so we talked to so many people. My son and I, he's now 23 years into this, and it's really cool the fact that over these years we're able to see so many rookies or first-year people. This year, from all the years I've been here, really is that year. So it sees there's a whole new influx of people coming in, and hopefully Flying Finance can help us get them in an airplane.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We do everything from light sport pilots all the way up to large jets even as well. So we even can finance flight schools and things like that. So we have about 150 banks on our platform. So we're able to place these loans, even if they're unique financial situations or things like that. We usually have a home for these loans to go to.
Keller, they say there's two sides to every story. David had his chance to speak, and as journalists, we're here to fact check.
We're here
to fact check.
We would like a statement.
Oh no,
no interruptions from David.
I know where he lives.
But Keller, it's your turn at the mic. Why don't you tell us about your side of the story and how this partnership came
absolutely.
together?
So David and I, we've been friends for a few years now. So we were able to connect recently again with his move over to Bristol, and we're really excited to have him there because, like I said, we've had that professional relationship. David's known the Firecrown team for quite some time, so we were able to just kind of bond back together and reignite some of our plans that we had previously talked about, and we're again I can't say how excited we are to support such a great aircraft. They're great for the training environment. They're great for the owner flown. Even small business owners. So it's just a fantastic opportunity for us, for Bristol, for everybody, all the clients as well.
Keller, I mean, you've been with Flying Finance, since the beginning or close to it, right?
Yeah, so I actually came over through the acquisition when Flying Finance was Sky Allies Capital. We were bought, Craig Fuller acquired us back in 23, actually at Oshkosh. Is when we made the announcement. So I've been here through it all.
Well, I got to say, we all at the same company at Firecrown, and I'm copied on the emails that give a lot of shout-outs to Keller and Flying Finance for all the cool things that you're doing and achievements, and it really has been a short amount of time. The story that you have put together, even to this point, we're here together talking about Bristol and with David Copeland.
Yep.
What a I mean, does it feel, I don't want to say meteoric, I don't want to do too much hyperbolic language, but how does it feel to you?
It's fantastic. We've done a lot in a short period of time. So, Bristol is just another example of that, creating partnerships. And it's been really busy, but it's been a lot of fun. We've exponentially increased our closing, amounts, and we have reliable sources for those people with unique situations. And that's what I'm most proud of, is that we get to a yes when others get to a no.
Yeah.
So it's something that I'm proud of. My team is fantastic. Our back office team is just we have the best team in the business.
Yeah, well, I just want to say, as a colleague, I appreciate all the success stories and the love and appreciation that gets shown about all the things that you got going on. So kudos to you.
That's awesome.
David, not that, obviously Keller is not the entire Bristol story. So I want to let's tell a little bit about Bristol 2025. We're here at Oshkosh. Tell us some of the other stories that you're really proud of right now. What's happening in your universe?
Every day that we're talking to customers and leads and people in the industry or industry vendor partners, it's so fun to be here. It resets the passion moment, which is awesome every day that we're here. Even if it's raining, it doesn't matter to me. I'm in there. So I think, here at Oshkosh, we're raising the bar again. We've had our largest display ever at Oshkosh. We're making a pretty big move and transition into the United States. We've been very, very successful overseas, with Mosaic being announced yesterday after I think it was a 10-year thinking program of that. That's major for us because we have Mosaic-ready airplanes already in production. So the announcement of what those particulars are is still being filtered out through our engineers and our team. But super excited to be here for that, as well as look at what's coming, right? The innovation that we're bringing to the platform. I think Greg was on here earlier, and the H-55 program, an all-electric aircraft program, and we've taken that across the United States, going into Canada soon. That's a cool innovation program. We've got our TurboTech organization that's working on the turboprop version of our B-23. Our B-23 platform is also up for certification by the FAA and Part 23, which is it's going to happen hopefully by the end of the week, but we have an indication that that's going to come very, very soon. So that paired with Mosaic versus the momentum that we've got here and where we're coming to the United States and building up our representative base as well as customer service and support is key. And we've introduced some cool things like a new SimWorks program for simulation. We have probably the first thing in the industry in our market space is called Bristol Direct. So 24/7, 365 line that you can call and you actually get a person, actual living human person that will answer the phone and talk to you about what you need, whether it's a brochure or you need technical support or parts, 24/7, 365. And I think that's unique. We see a lot of people in the commercial space or even the business aviation space doing that, but not in our space. So we're carving a new piece there. Of course, flying finance, I call it always fasten your seatbelts because we're going to sell you an airplane that's going to be financed, and we want you to have a lot of fun and safe flying around the world.
So to rewind a little bit, I wanted to ask you about the H-55 partnership. Yeah. They were on Oshkosh Live earlier this week. Tell us a little. Could you add a little bit of color there about that partnership?
Yeah. So as we know, when Solar Impulse flew around the world and that historic flight really kind of set the stage for what's next. How do we apply that technology and make it real for pilots of the future, right? Because Andre did a fantastic job in setting records and doing all the things he did on that flight. But what we want to do is apply that same technology and engineering to a fixed-wing airplane. So we took a base airplane, which is very tried and true, which is the B-23, and paired it with a great partner at H-55. Basically, we're proving that, and we've been across the United States really to get important feedback from communities, from airport operators, from governments, from flying, just individuals that come up that really aren't really as familiar with flying and private flying, flight schools. So we're getting that input and also proving the aircraft. We've done over 150 demos with 100% dispatch reliability at temperatures up to 114 degrees with incredible performance. Also, the flyover dBs are very, very low. Actually, the airplane is quieter than ambient noise when it flies over. So we're looking at how we expand our envelope with safe, certifiable platforms. And pairing like we did with Rotax with those power plants, it's a pretty much a no-brainer for the future in communities and countries around the world that may have more emphasis on, different kinds of fuel and different kinds of energy sources to power their aircraft, and that's just one of them.
Very cool.
Very cool. Yeah. So you mentioned Mosaic. I was there at the press conference yesterday. It's really hot out there.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel? How do you guys feel about it?
Awesome. I mean, we've been in the background preparing and talking about it. Our signage had said Mosaic ready even at Sun and Fun. Our B-23 RG also had the best of show. I'm going to brag a little bit about that airplane.
All right.
It's flying right now, so it couldn't make it into the booth. It's a pretty busy demo that we've got going around. So we were set up for that ahead of time. I think it's also until it's actually printed and announced, like I think it's pretty official now, we're able to look at how those things are going to apply to our product line that we've got.
Yeah. 5
models, 15 different variations with engine and power plants and platforms. So as we take, as the rule reads, as I understand it last evening, is the light sport will go away, Mosaic will take its place, and then we enter a whole other group of people that can fly our aircraft and get them financed, of course, and flying and reading your publications and really getting excited about this. And I think it's the FAA's move, as well as the OEMs will pair with that and really expand this. So I can't wait to see what happens next year at this place, because we're going to have those Mosaic airplanes will be flying very, very soon. So we're prepared with airplanes that are already in production, actually.
Yeah. Shawn said he'd actually read the 724-page final rule that the FAA put out yesterday.
Yeah, and my summation is good.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, let's just keep it simple, right? But I did want to ask you, Ryan, from the editorial side, because you were at the press conference, I know, flying, and you filed that story. speaking from the broad audience, not to put you in the feet of the shoes of hundreds of thousands of people. What's your perspective on what came out of the press conference?
I think in addition to what David's saying about it's huge in your space, but I think it's also federal government starting to lay the groundwork for eVTOLs and other sort of platforms like that. So I think there's another angle to this that's more future forward. Obviously, it opens the door for stuff like Bristol and others, I think just like you, we're also still looking at all the data that's in that 700-page document. But it's very interesting, and I've never seen. Well, funny story actually. So the DOT sent the email out for this press conference. I'm like, oh great, it'll be a little press conference with Sean Duffy and Chris Rushlow. Plenty of time to ask questions. And then EAA put out a post on X yesterday before the event and told everybody where it was. And so it was massive audience. Yeah. It was massive. There were so many people there.
Well, I would be remiss if I didn't ask Keller, who is on the campgrounds. He is in the mix, a man of the people here.
Oh, yeah.
Keller, give us a little bit of report. Good people watching, there must be, correct?
Oh, absolutely. The best people watching you could imagine in the campground. That's how I like to do Oshkosh. I like to get in there, do it with everybody else, and be in the action.
You were barbecuing last night, right?
Oh, yeah, we had burgers going.
We did a good job, didn't we?
We did. Baked beans, burgers.
That sounds great.
You did most of it.
Yeah. That's kind of how it usually ends up. But no, it's everybody's super, super excited. All the different OEMs, Bristol, y'all are, it's incredible. It feels like we're kind of making aviation great again, in a way. It's fantastic in that aspect. We're able to get a lot of these people that previously haven't been able to fly or take flight lessons for whatever reason it is. Now they're going to be able to be welcomed into this industry again, and get into the cockpit and fly fantastic airplanes. So we're really excited about it. We're ready for the rush that we're going to have. I'm sure there's going to be a buying rush. So, Bristol, David, it sounds like you guys are prepared. Yep. Inventory's ready.
Yep.
So same goes with the finance team. Our team is expanded, so we're ready to take on clients as they need us.
Well, want to say congratulations to you both on this awesome partnership. Wishing you all the best, and certainly wishing you the best because it's good for both of us too.
Right? Absolutely.
Keller Lassiter with Flying Finance, David Copeland with Bristol. Thank you so much for taking time with us on Oshkosh Live to share this great news. Again, congratulations and onwards and upwards. Right?
Thank you very much.
All
Appreciate
right.
it.
Thank you very much to Keller.
Thanks.
Thank you very much to David Copeland. That was a great segment. That's like hyping up our own company.
I know. We were doing a little house promotion.
Little gratuitous self-promotion.
Yes.
Which I have no problem with.
No,
here we are. We're moving into getting close to hour 2 of Oshkosh Live, powered by Redbird Flight. How are you feeling so far today,
Feeling pretty
Ryan?
good. Got the coffee in hand. And
I might have heard that it was a late night in the campground. Is that true?
Because there is a rumor going around across our company that that's the case. It is not true. We are very responsible. We get to bed by 10.
That's when I went to bed.
Yeah.
Because I care about this program.
Right.
Well, we are here again heading into hour 2. We got a lot of great stuff coming up, including Larry Anglisano with Aviation Consumers, going to be with Blackhawk for a very interesting conversation and talk. Again, looking out here, overcast, but temperature's good. We're seeing the Redbird booth popping. Greg Rourke, our buddy over here at Redbird, who handles the STEM education, has already got the kids teed up for a seminar. A lot of buzz, a lot of action happening here, but a lot of great content still to come with myself and Ryan and all of our colleagues here at the Fire Crown Aviation Group. But now we're going to turn it over to our colleague Larry Anglisano with Blackhawk here on Oshkosh Live, powered by Redbird Flight.
Thanks.
It's happening. Okay. It's happening. Let's go. It's happening. Let's go. Get the bag. Get the bag. Yeah. What?
Life's better when you're prepared, especially on the flight deck. Find a Redbird near you and fly like you've been there before.
Next. So where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Trashed?
Life's better when you're prepared, especially on the flight deck. Find a Redbird near you and fly like you've been there before.
Welcome to another edition of Aviation Consumer Live, part of the Firecrown Oshkosh Live series, here at the Blackhawk Aerospace exhibit with Edwin Black, no relation. Edwin, we got lucky here. It's been a rainy morning at AirVenture, but just before our segment, it cleared up.
I'm thrilled to be here, and that's the fun of Oshkosh. You never know what the weather's going to do. So we're fortunate to get a little bit of blue sky here this morning at Oshkosh, and thanks for having me. We're really happy to be here.
Glad to do it, and we're standing in front of a legacy Pilatus PC-12 with a pretty interesting paint job, and over on the other side there's a legacy TBM 700, and that's a good segue to talk about what Blackhawk has built here in the industry. There's a lot of legacy turboprops running around with original engines, and you can talk about the specifics, but Blackhawk has made a good business of retrofitting older turboprops with higher powered engines. It doesn't matter what you fly, you always want to go faster, you always want to climb better, and you always want more efficiency and performance. That's exactly what you get with a Blackhawk conversion. Take it from the top. How'd you get into the business, and what do you bring to the table to the legacy turboprop market? Everything from legacy PC-12s and TBM 700s to King Airs, Conquests, and everything in between.
There's one thing that we've found when you're dealing with aircraft, and that there's no substitute for horsepower. And so we've had a lot of owners and operators over the years come up to us and say, hey, we love this airplane. We're coming up on an overhaul event. Is there any way you could put a bigger engine to make it go a little bit faster, make it climb a little bit more efficiently and better as well? So back in 1999, we started with the Conquest 1, the 425, where we took off the old Pratt & Whitney -114A engines and put on the Pratt & Whitney -135A engines. And since then, we've just expanded out to multiple other platforms. So the 425 was our first platform. We moved into the King Air series, starting with the 90, moving into the 200s, into the 300 and 350 series. We've expanded out to the PC-12, partnering with Finoff Aviation as well on that. And the advantage to it really is that you take an older legacy aircraft and bring it up to the new factory standard. So for example, on this aircraft here, your serial number is between 1 and 850 or so. You take the old engine off, it's a 67 Bravo engine. You put the 67 Papa engine on, which is the same engine model that they were installing on the PC-12 NG. So you're really leveling up the old legacy airplanes to the next level. And as you know, we were talking earlier, Pilatus today, they're offering the PC-12 Pro, which has an even bigger and more efficient engine on it than this. And so that's one of the niches that Blackhawk does, is we go back to the old legacy airplanes and bring them up to that next level of performance, rather than just overhauling the engine and continuing at those same performance levels that they were originally certified, sometimes 30, 40, and even 50 years ago on some of the King Airs that we do.
Yeah, the fleet's definitely getting older, and let's talk more about specifics about how you Chi-Chi more performance out of these engine upgrades. Now, backstop me here. You got a higher shaft horsepower engine, but it's still derated for airframe limitations.
Right.
But the advantage is you could carry that horsepower up to a higher altitude, where the older engines may start to slow down, right?
That's exactly right. So what we've found is we always want to stick with the original airframe certified horsepower limit. And so what we'll do is we'll take a higher powered engine and then flat rate it. So, for example, on the King Air 350, for example, we'll take the 67 Alpha engine, which is a 1200 shaft horsepower engine, and we'll flat rate it down to 1050 shaft horsepower, which is what the airframe limitation is. And so what that allows you to do is pull that horsepower to a much higher altitude so you can climb faster, and then once you're up at that altitude, you enjoy pulling more torque, which of course is more speed. So on the King Air 350 series, you'll see a 30-knot speed increase by installing the bigger 67 Alphas on it. So the pilots get to enjoy, not only that climb, you can get up and above, through the weather a little bit faster, and then once you're there, you set in and cruise 30 knots faster. And who doesn't want to go faster, right? That's why you have these airplanes. Everybody wants to enjoy that speed, and that's what we do here at Blackhawk.
Yeah, let's sort of go through the product line, or at least the retrofit line. Now, these are STC applications. So let's take a little walk back in time, where maybe let's start with a Viper Cheyenne 1 or 2 or something, okay, with stock engines. What's the performance look like on an older Cheyenne, and then throw some Blackhawk PT6s on it? What's it look like?
Yeah, so we've got an STC, and Blackhawk has roughly 40 total STCs now, and they're mostly engine-centric. So oftentimes we'll have to get an STC for some gauges or for some propellers or things of that nature. But on the Cheyenne series, we've got an STC that'll allow us to put the 135A engines on, and we exclusively work with Pratt & Whitney, so it's the PT6 family line. So we'll put the 135As on the Cheyenne 1, the Cheyenne 2, or the Cheyenne 2XL. And so depending on your airframe model, you'll see some different performance variants of that. But if you put a 135A on the Cheyenne 1, for example, you're going to rocket up into your, up to the flight levels where you're going to cruise, almost 25 knots faster in a Cheyenne 1. So it's a phenomenal program. And then the Cheyenne 2, of course, had a bigger engine on it. So you'll still see a gain, just not quite as much as you would on the Cheyenne 1. And of course, the Cheyenne 2XL had a straight 135 engine on it. But you'll still see more efficiencies in the Alpha engine, where you're still 15 knots faster in the Cheyenne 2XL. And that's a model, and we found this a lot with some of these older aircraft. There's almost like a cult of following where people love the Cheyenne series. They love the 425 series. And so they'll put the money into it because they know they're going to fly it for a long time. Versus overhauling, there's just not as much value in flying at the same speeds, whereas you can dash up your engine and gain that extra horsepower and efficiency.
Yeah, we'll talk about refurbs because I think it's a worthy topic before we close. But let's move down the line in twin turboprops. Another popular twin turboprop, Cessna Conquest. What's that look like with these engines?
Yeah, so the Cessna Conquest, what we do on that is we'll take off the old 112 engines, which are a 450 shaft horsepower engine, and put the 135As on, which are a 750 shaft horsepower engine. So again, we'll flat rate it down to that, to that 450 limit. And what we do is we'll lower the torque limit so that you're not exceeding the airframe horsepower limitation. And you're going to see, 285 knots true airspeed in a Conquest 1, which is phenomenal. Most people are going to be cruising, closer to the 260 knot range, somewhere in that ballpark. So you can see the value of putting the bigger engines on. And that's the other part of it, is the economics have to make sense as well. Where if you look at what an overhaul would cost versus putting a new engine on, can you justify that difference? And when you look at how much time you'll save on the airframe, the lower operating cost of having a zero-time, zero-cycle new engine with the warranty and all that, the economics really balance out. And then the other thing we always like to tell people is when you go to sell the aircraft, you still have a newer engine on in its place, and so you're going to see that value come back upon resale as well. So it's really a win-win on both fronts, both performance-wise and economic-wise.
Yeah, let's talk about propellers. Start with this one behind us. This is a Legacy PC-12. Say again what variant PT6 is on this one.
Yeah, so this engine, it's a PT6A-67 Papa engine. So it's the same engine that was installed on the PC-12 NG. And what we've got here with the propeller is we've worked hand in hand with MT Propeller in Germany to develop a 7-blade propeller option. So the factory model is a Hartzell 4-bladed propeller, and MT also has a 5-bladed option that you can install on this as well. But the value of using a 7-blade propeller is that you can shorten the diameter a little bit, which reduces the noise characteristics. And so a lot of people really like putting the 7-blade propeller on because the cabin gets a lot quieter, which is very comfortable for the passengers. The cockpit's a lot quieter as well, and you'll see a tremendous increase in climb performance as well with this propeller. So, if you're bumping around or climbing through some inclement weather, things of that nature, it's really advantageous to get up and above it as quick as you can, and that's what this 7-blade propeller allows you to do.
Well, before we walk away from the PC-12, any version of the PC-12 has got a lot of respect for what it does.
Yeah.
So this was an early gen PC-12, and now obviously wearing some upgrades, including this propeller and engine upgrade. What performance differences do we have now compared to what it had when it came off the Pilatus line way back in the day?
Great, thanks for that. So on the PC-12, it has the original engine is the 67 Bravo, and so we're dashing it up to the 67 Papa. So there's not a tremendous amount of difference between the engines and the performance, but you'll see about a 15, 16 knot speed increase from going from the Bravo model up to the Papa model. So you'll get some performance, and then of course the climb performance is incredibly improved as well. But on this one, it's really about economics as well. So if you're going to overhaul the old 67 Bravo engine, your price points are going to be right in line with what a brand new 67 Papa would be. So to that point, we have a backlog on these engines right now into 2026. So there's tremendous demand where people would much rather prefer to put a brand new, bigger engine on for a comparable price point to what they would overhaul their old 67B for.
Yeah, so if you're talking about delivery times, it's probably a good time to talk about supply chain. And when you and I got together a few months ago, we were talking about tariffs, and you were concerned about pricing. What are you seeing as far as delivery times on these PT6s? It's a pretty lively market, isn't it?
It is. It's when you look at across the market, general aviation has seen an increase in activity, since the COVID years. People want to fly private, and so whether it's a PC-12 or a King Air or a TBM series, you're seeing a lot of people gravitate towards private aviation. And so what that has caused, it's like the perfect storm where Pratt & Whitney and all of their suppliers have really been backlogged trying to get the parts out. So we'll purchase, more than 130 engines from Pratt & Whitney this year, and we do have some supply constraints. Where on the PC-12, for example, our 2025 order is for 30 engines from Pratt & Whitney, and all of those are sold. Our next year's order is for 36 engines, and most of those are sold as well. So we're doing really, really well. And one of the exciting things we announced this week at Oshkosh is that we just celebrated our 2,000th engine delivery from Pratt & Whitney. So over the course of 25 years that Blackhawk's been upgrading these aircraft, we've now sold more than 2,000 engines from Pratt & Whitney. So we've been a tremendous partner for Pratt & Whitney. We're the largest non-OEM buyer of Pratt & Whitney PT6 engines, and so they give us that OEM status. But yeah, it's a issue that we're seeing right now is the supply chain. So one of the things we tell people is, you used to be able to just call us up and within a month or two we could get you some engines. You need to plan much more further down the road. 6 months to a year is really good to plan so that you don't have any unnecessary downtime. And the flip side of that too is if you went to overhaul your engine, you're seeing really long lead times in that department as well, due to some of these supply chain issues. So it's not just on the new engine delivery side of things; it's on the overhaul side of things as well. So that's a challenge that Pratt & Whitney's really stepping up to try to resolve, and hopefully here in the next year or two we can see some resolution to the supply chain issues. And one other point you mentioned is on the tariffs. Fortunately, all of the PT6s are covered under the USMCA agreement, which is still in effect, and so there's no tariffs on brand new PT6A engine sales, and so that's been a huge benefit for us, where we were quite nervous when we spoke last
that
time.
Was sort of the unknown a few months ago.
There was a lot of uncertainty to that, but fortunately we've been able to work through that to where there are no tariffs on new engine sales right now from Pratt & Whitney.
What I want to talk about next is refurbs, right?
Yeah.
And as you say, the Pilatus PC-12 or a Conquest or whatever it might be is a good airplane for a lot of operators.
Yeah.
And if you find an airplane that is good, it's maintained well, you know it, it may be a good airplane to do a total refurb.
Yeah.
Start with the engine, paint. Let's talk about the Blackhawk dealer network and some of the other stuff that you guys do refurb-wise. There's avionics, a bunch of other stuff too, right?
It is, and so in fact, when we walk over to look at the TBM here in a moment, we have a TBM 700 series on display. That's a 2004 model, and we completely refurbished that with our partners, Avex Aviation. They put a brand new paint job on it, brand new interior, brand new glass panel. It's got the Garmin 600, 750 TXIs in it for the panel. And then, of course, we put the bigger engine on it. It's got the 66D variant engine that's installed on it, which is really completes that airplane. So you're taking the 700 series. Do you want to walk over to it?
Yeah, let's go do it. We've got a tractor coming over,
yeah.
So let's
see, that's the joy of Oshkosh, right? You get all kinds of vehicles.
While we're walking, let's get a look at this paint job.
Yeah.
Pretty unique. You won't see another one like it.
Yeah.
I already talked to Steve Cook about it. Okay.
Yeah. So, we'll walk right over here. This is perfect. So this is the TBM 700 series that we were talking about, where you can completely refurbish an airplane. Where this is a 2004 model, it has about 2,000 total hours on it, and they stripped the paint completely, put all the interior, like we mentioned earlier, new panel, and then the engine. So essentially, what we're doing is you're taking a 700 series TBM and escalating it up to the same performance levels as a TBM 850 series. So there's a neat little button, we call it the 850 XP mode. So as soon as you take off, you're going to take off with 700 shaft horsepower. There's a button that you can push which activates 850 shaft horsepower for climb and for cruise, which is exactly how the 850 model is. You take off at 700 shaft horsepower. As soon as you lift off, you can escalate it to 850 shaft horsepower. So Daher, they had a really neat way of delivering more horsepower for their customers.
Yeah, you mentioned avionics upgrades and Garmin systems in general, and Garmin's got the EIS engine system. Yeah. Compare the avionics now to where they were when you folks first started. How's it easier to operate the engines on these things? Because they're not FADEC. You do have to be careful about over-torquing and all that, but how does an EIS system, part of an avionics upgrade, make it easier to operate?
Well, and that's a great question as well, because it does become a lot easier. There's a lot less workload when you improve the avionics on the airplanes. And so whenever we put new engines on, you're also going to change some of the engine gauge parameters. So we've got to work with partners like Garmin to make sure that we put the correct markings on it. And to your point, the pilot, they have enough workload going on, and so the EIS systems, they've got really neat, warning systems. You'll see some flashing and things of that nature. If a pilot's doing something they shouldn't be doing, it'll start to talk to you. So it's a very efficient way to help reduce some of the pilot workload, where they can quickly and easily monitor what the engine's doing, and then make sure they don't exceed any of the engine limitations.
Yeah. Let's talk about the dealer network. So if you've got a TBM or Pilatus or any of the other aircraft that fall under the STC, who does the work? Let's talk about service centers.
Yeah, perfect. And so that depends greatly on which aircraft model you're working with. So for the TBM, for example, One of our sister companies, Avex Aviation, they have, they'll do new aircraft sales and they'll maintain aircraft as well. They've got a whole MRO network. One of our facilities is in Camarillo, the other one's in Broomfield, Colorado. And so with this airplane, we completely refurbished it at the Camarillo Center, where they put the glass panel in, paint interior, and all of that over there. So it's really helpful to have that factory-owned or factory detail in the service center network. And then when you expand outside of that to, say, the King Air fleet, we've got a network of over 80 distributors across the globe that sell, support, and maintain the different engine upgrades. And the nice thing about what we do is that the engines, they're Pratt & Whitney engines, so they fall within the same maintenance criteria as the Pratt & Whitney protocol. So any of our authorized distributors can maintain those engines in accordance with the Pratt & Whitney standards. And then we also have some Blackhawk-owned factory service centers. They're called Blackhawk Performance Centers. There's one in Columbia, Missouri, one in Colorado, one in Glendale, Arizona as well, just as an effort to help customers, maintain their aircraft and have a place to go where they can get all of these upgrades at a really valuable price point as well.
Yeah, if we're talking about price, I know it's tough to really put a hard number on it, but I'm thinking resale, right?
Yeah.
Which is still a pretty lively market. So you take a TBM or Pilatus or something that's got stock engines. What kind of increase in value in general would you see with a Blackhawk converted engine?
Yeah, so generally speaking, you're going to see the same value that you put into the aircraft from an engine perspective. You're going to see that same value return. And so most people don't put an engine on just to turn and sell it. They want to fly it, and then maybe 5 or 6 years down the road they'll sell it. And so what we found is almost 100% of the airplanes that we've upgraded within a 500-hour window sell the airplane for 100% of the value that they put into the engines. And so it's almost like thinking of it that if you remodel your house, if you put the money into the kitchen, that's going to give you the best resale value on it. And an engine's a lot like the kitchen of an airplane, where you're going to get the most resale value out of an engine. And so, for example, this airplane, which is for sale, by the way, so it's like I said, a 2004 model with 2,000 total time on it, and we're offering it to the market for $2.4 million with a run-out -64 engine on it. You're going to see the aircraft price be in that low $1 million range. So you put the engines on, the paint, the interior, the panel, and you're going to be up somewhere in that $2.4 million range. Versus the alternate option is you could go buy an 850, and so you got to kind of look at what the values of an 850 are. And so if you had an 850 with a freshly overhauled engine, you're probably going to be close to that $3 million price point. So you can see by refurbishing a 700 series and picking it up for, say, $2.4 million, you're going to save some money and extract some value out of that proposition.
It would occur to me that with delivery delays on new airplanes, for a lot of operators it may make sense to do a refurb or a re-engine on their existing airplane.
Yeah.
Is that still going on? I know some of the OEMs tell me that the lead times are starting to come down.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the economy, but what's the typical logic for the average operator of these turboprops?
Yeah, and that's something we've seen a lot of, where if you can't get a brand new airplane, the next best option, of course, is to just build your own and refurbish your own. So if you were looking at a lead time on a new aircraft of somewhere between 1.5 years to 2 years, you can go buy an older aircraft. When you get the paint and the interior, the avionics engines put on it, you're probably in a 1 to 2 month time frame to get all of that completed. So you can quickly get back up operational by refurbishing the aircraft. And a lot of people, they like to do that as well because they want to put their own paint scheme on it. So if you look at this state storage airplane, for example, it's a gorgeous paint scheme that you're just not going to get that same option from the factory. And so a lot of people like to customize it and build it how they want it. And that's one of the advantages of doing that, is you can get it quicker, you can get it for less, and you get the same utility that you would see out of a brand new aircraft.
What's the PC-12 market looking like? Legacy airplanes, and these airplanes have been around for a while now. There's been several iterations of these things.
It's a workhorse aircraft. Yeah. It is very strong. It's hard to come by. a low time PC-12 right now. It's a very strong market, and as also if you went to buy a brand new PC-12 Pro, you're going to have a long lead time on that as well, and that just speaks to the value of the airplane, how people use it, and how they operate with it. There's a tremendous value for that, and that holds true for King Airs as well. Like if you went to buy a King Air 350, right now there's a really long lead time, and so you can do that same process where you can refurbish a 350, get it in service a lot quicker than you would, say a brand new 360i.
How about downtime on a shop floor for let's start with just a basic engine swap?
Yeah, so if you had a Legacy 700 TBM and you wanted to do the engine upgrade, you're looking at a 3-week downtime. 3 total weeks to do the engine upgrade. If you did some maintenance or you did some avionics with it, it could go up a little bit, but that's a pretty good time frame to allocate towards an engine upgrade, and that's pretty similar on the PC-12. It's similar on the King Airs as well. You can probably do the King Airs a little bit quicker, and that's one of the reasons why we like to advocate for our performance centers. Is that if you have a shop that does this regularly, you can get them done a little bit quicker than if it's somebody doing it for their first or second time.
They're pretty efficient getting them done. And how about doing engine and avionics at the same time? Do you see a lot of that? So pull the engine out, and while it's on the shop floor, do a suite of avionics.
We do see that a lot, and the advantage to that, again, is that you're doing 2 at the same time, and they don't interfere with each other. So if you're up in the panel, you're not slowing yourself down by working out on the engines, and so you'll get a lot of shops that will couple those together. And to do a G1000 upgrade, you're probably looking at a 3 to 4 week period. So you couple that with the engines, and now you're really minimizing that downtime and maximizing the effectiveness of the aircraft.
Yeah, we've covered the G1000 upgrade for the King Air series, which also includes the Autoland now.
Yeah.
So are you seeing more of those upgrades?
We are. In fact, I believe Garmin just approved the Autoland, or if it's not approved, we'll have to check in with them if they're announcing it at the show. They're approving it for the King Air 350 series as well. They've had the King Air 200 series approved for a long time, and they've gotten such tremendous results from that as well. There are a lot of people that love that Autoland feature, and so they're expanding that onto the King Air 350 series, which the customers have really been, really pressing Garmin to expand that to other models as well. So yeah, that's a very good system that we highly advocate for, and that's why it's fun to come to Oshkosh, is you get to see what's new, what's being innovated, and how can I improve my flying experience. And a lot of pilots really like that, and their spouses really like that Autoland feature a lot.
Yeah, it's a good sell. On yesterday's show, we did a segment on the new PC-12 Pro. And one thing I didn't realize is that airplane's got the G3000 Prime, but it also has Autoland.
Yeah.
So do you see, you sort of live this stuff every day, do you see more Autoland retrofits coming in the future?
I do. I think especially...
And how does it fit in the turbine market? When I first flew the Autoland 6 years ago, it was in a Piper M600 turboprop. And, a lot of people said, well, in a turbine airplane, a lot of times, there's more safety built in because you got more reliable turbine engine. Maybe some of these airplanes are crude, but talking to you, it kind of seems like the Autoland is a good sell for a turbine airplane now.
It is. I just think it's a natural fit when you have a system that's innovative, that is that innovative, that you're going to see it expand to other models. The challenge is, Garmin is so busy doing all of these other things. How do you extract their engineering effort, and then what models do you start to look for? And I know Garmin's looking to expand onto the PC-12 panel a little bit more as well. And by doing that, that's when you're going to see that the expedition of the Autoland from Garmin and some other groups as well that are putting it together as well. But yeah, I really think, though, you're going to see more and more Autoland systems being installed in some legacy aircraft, because it's really easy to build it into the airframe when it's new. It's a little bit harder to retrofit some of these Autoland systems, but Garmin's got a great team. There's some other groups that are working on them as well that really are leading that charge to make it a safer and more reliable experience for pilots.
Well, we covered a lot. What else did we talk about?
Well, we've got some other programs that we've been working on.
Yeah, what's in the future? What are you guys working on?
We're working on expanding some propeller eligibilities on some of our engine upgrade STCs. One of them is on the King Air 350, where we've been installing a Hartzell 5-bladed propeller as an option for the King Air 350 with our bigger 67A engines. We've also got the MT 5-bladed and the MT 7-bladed propeller is now approved on the King Air 350 series with the bigger 67A engine. So that's something that we're really looking closely on. And then we're also trying to expand, in looking at some other systems on airplanes, some airframe systems as well, because we really have been engine-centric in the past. That's kind of been our bread and butter at Blackhawk, is, beefing up some of these, the horsepower on these older legacy aircraft. And that's, like I mentioned in the beginning, there's no substitute for horsepower. Yeah. I think one of my favorite things about coming to shows like Oshkosh is we'll get customers that come in and they'll tell you, why didn't you tell me to do this earlier? I mean, if you just would have told me that it climbed faster and that it went this much faster, I would have done it earlier. And I said, well, that's what we did. That's why we're here, and that's what we're trying to advocate for, is to show people what they can expect when they put these bigger engines on their airplanes.
What challenges do you have working on these airplanes?
Well, I think some of our, like you mentioned earlier, some of our biggest challenges are supply chain. So there, as more and more of these engine upgrades get put into the market, you get a lot more demand. And so we're trying to keep up with that demand and working really closely with our partners at Pratt & Whitney to make sure we can fill the demand. And they're having a lot of issues right now with supply chain as well. So for us, that's been one of our biggest challenges is how do we get the engine mix blend right? So for example, the PC-12, we've got a backlog for almost a year right now, and then on some of our other models we don't. And so when we put our orders in with Pratt, how do you really get that blend? How can you predict the future, Larry? And that's, if you can tell me that, I mean, that would be very helpful for us as well.
Yeah. How about the STC process? Is it about the same as it was? More difficult? Is it easier?
It's so we've got
describe the regulatory climate these days.
Yeah. So there are some changes that have happened here, over the last couple of years or so, but for the most part, and that's something that Blackhawk's very good at, is we've got straight line thinking when it comes to engineering, and it's all about the plan. When you put together your STC plan, you really want to make sure you can be as efficient as possible, but then of course meet all the FARs, and that's the one thing in the STC world. It's really driven by the FAA, and we've got a great relationship with them. It might take a little longer to get STCs than it has in the past, but for good reason, right? People are flying, you're leaving the ground, you want to make sure that you're safe, and that's our primary objective, is safety above everything. And so, we've got a really good cadence with STCs. We generally will turn out an STC every year, one major new STC every year. And we see that for the foreseeable future, where we're going to be generating, one major engine-based STC each year. But it is. You got to have a great relationship with the FAA, which we do, and then you got to have that knowledge and experience to get it done without going down all these rabbit holes that take a lot more time and cost a lot more to get them done.
How about turbine upgrades for piston airplanes? Over the years, we've seen some modifiers put turbine engines in pistons. Cessna 210 is one. There's been some on the A36 Bonanza. Yeah. There's been some on the, I think, the Baron.
Yeah.
Is there a market there?
There is. There have been some very successful groups that have done that in the past. We don't have any engine upgrades today that replace a piston for a turbine. But that is something that we have been eyeballing and looking to do as we're kind of getting thin on the turboprop markets as far as what new models we can work on.
I was going to ask you that. Yeah. What haven't you tapped?
So, there's a couple models, like there's a King Air 100, and there's some older ones that you probably just don't have.
Those old 100s with those old Garretts.
The old Garretts. We looked at a couple of those options, but just the economics are a little bit harder on that. And so clearly, when you're developing an STC, you want to have a large market so that you can recuperate, a lot of the engineering efforts that you're putting forth. And so it's harder to find those turboprop markets that we haven't already engaged with. And so we are expanding to look to do things on, piston to turbine, and some other options as well. Maybe with some of these, fuel mandates that are coming down the pipelines, we're really eyeballing that really closely to see if there's something we can do, even outside of the turbine market, to really make a difference for aviation and particularly in the power plant world.
Yeah, could you do a quick price comparison between a typical overhaul on an original PT6 to a Blackhawk engine?
You got it. So, and that again, it depends. There's a lot of options there, whether it's a first run or second run, and there's a lot of different variations there. But just as a rule of thumb, like on the PC-12 that we've been talking about, most people are going to budget somewhere in the $1 million for a 67 Bravo overhaul, versus the new engine is going to cost just a little bit above that. So that's kind of your comparison there. But then you get on like the old King Air 90s, where you've got an old 21 engine, and you can overhaul both 21 engines for somewhere in the $600,000 to $700,000 range, versus putting the new 135As on, which is just north of $1 million. So you've got a little bit more of a price delta there. But the thing that sells it at that point is the performance, right? When you put the 135As on the King Air 90, it's a whole nother animal, and that's what people are really looking for. There's a reason you own an airplane, and putting more horsepower on it just gives you one more reason to own it.
How about savings in fuel burn?
Yeah, and that's another big advantage as well. So it depends on how you want to operate it. If you want to fly fast, you're going to use more fuel, but the good news is you're going to arrive to your destination earlier, so your block fuel time either stays the same or even can come down depending on how you fly it. But most people, if you had a long-range mission that you wanted to go on, you could throttle it back and easily extend your range, lower your fuel consumption numbers. Most people, they're going to take advantage of that power, and they're going to fly max cruise power settings, and so their fuel flow goes up. So for example, on the King Air 90, your fuel flow, instead of being around 80 gallons per hour, it'll be closer to 90 gallons per hour. So 10 gallons per hour more, but you're going 25 knots faster. So over the course of the trip, your fuel flow or your fuel use is very similar, very comparable to the old engines. And that's another big thing, is one of the big savings is you're putting less time on the airframe and the systems, and that's how you can really save money. Is you're flying less time, which is going to save you on some of your time-based inspections and things of that nature.
So what are some of the time intervals? I take this PT6 that's on this DBM. What's the hot section?
Yeah, so the hot section on this is the 66 Delta. It's an 1,800-hour hot section with a 3,600-hour overhaul.
Okay. Anything else we didn't cover?
I think that's pretty good. I mean, we've been coming to Oshkosh now for the past 20 plus years. This is my 18th year at Oshkosh, and I'll tell you, it's just a wonderful experience to see the history of aviation on full display. Anytime you look in the sky, you'll see something from the past. You'll see what's going on today, and then even a snapshot of what's to come. And so that's why I think we really are excited to be here at Oshkosh, and really appreciate you showcasing what we're doing here for all of our customers.
Well, I think it's a good market, and like I said, the used turboprop market has always been strong, and I think it's probably stronger now than ever. Look into your crystal ball. What do you see for engine tech in the next, say, 10 years? Throw a curveball at him.
Yeah,
he's got all the answers.
That's a good one. So I know you're seeing a lot of talk about, there's some different engine models that are coming online. You've got GE's developing that Catalyst engine for the Denali aircraft over at Textron. So we're really monitoring that very closely to see if there's any way that you could, put that on a retro market. We love working with Pratt & Whitney, and they've got some new engine models that they're working on. I know you'll see some of these new FADEC or EPEC engines that are coming out for the TBMs on the 960 series, and then also on the PC-12 on the Pros that are coming out right now. And so
easier engine operation yet.
It's a phenomenal engine. The challenge is retrofitting some of these is a lot more tricky, because you have to have full integration with avionics and systems, and it's a whole different animal compared to some of the hydromechanical PT6s that we've been working on for years. So, but we're excited to look in those areas, and we'll see what comes about with that.
Yeah. Well, we'll turn it back to the studio, and I love talking to Edwin Black because I love talking about turbines. and you've been watching Aviation Consumer Live, part of the Fire Crown Oshkosh Live series. We'll be reporting here every day, I think, to the end of the week. And for Aviation Consumer, I'm Larry Anglosano. Thanks for watching.
It's happening. Okay. It's happening. Let's go. It's happening. Let's go. Get the bag. Get the bag. Yeah. What?
Life's better when you're prepared, especially on the flight deck. Find a red bird near you and fly like you've been there before.
Next. So where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Trashed?
Life's better when you're prepared, especially on the flight deck. Find a red bird near you and fly like you've been there before.
It is Oshkosh Live, powered by Redbird Flight. We are now into our closing in on 2 hours completed.
2 hours completed and 7 more to go.
It is 10:10 a.m. Central Time here in Oshkosh at the world's largest aviation celebration. Once again, it's me, Shawn Bean, with my co-host, Ryan Ewing. Ryan, I want to say thanks. We just, in between segments, got to go on a little field trip. So why don't you tell us what we did between segments here?
So there's been a few exciting visitors. Obviously, every year here in Oshkosh there is, but Alaska this morning around 3 in the morning Pacific time flew 737 MAX in from Seattle, their base. I think, I could be wrong, and I know I'm going to get hated on in the comments for this, but I think it's the first time they brought an airplane into the show, at least recently. And I took you for a little walk to go see it.
I believe we have a photo of me inside the wheel well
yes.
of the 737 MAX.
There he is.
There
he is. Yeah.
My
so
goodness.
A lot going on in there for you 737 guys out there. You all know it's a unique little setup.
I got to tell you, I think
right?
if you did a brain scan on me right there, like, it would be just darkness.
Mm-hmm.
There would be very little in my brain that would be lighting up, understanding. Like, that looks like the Death Star.
Yeah, well, it could, you know.
I mean, there's no wheels in space, really, so no need for a wheel well on the Death Star. But
it's an important piece of humility, I think it was. It was a grounding experience for you.
It was, but really incredible. Thank you for the field trip. Very much appreciate it.
Yeah, the field trip to right there,
right over there by Boeing Plaza.
Mm-hmm.
Again, beautiful weather. Sounds crazy to say, but it's overcast. The rain has stopped. And it's just a nice even temperature, no sweating, no heat, crazy heat influx here. So it's a beautiful day here at the Redbird booth. We've got the youth over here in their flight class, their STEM class with Greg Rourke, the director of STEM education with Redbird. Everyone checking out the simulators behind us. It's been a great day so far. A lot of great content coming up. And next, we have a very cool segment with Kayla McLeod of Plane and Pilot. I believe we're going to be going on a shopping spree with her. Sounds very fun. Kayla McLeod with Plane and Pilot is going to be with our friends at MyGo Flight for a shopping spree. Let's throw it to Kayla now.
Kayla McLeod here with Plane and Pilot, and I'm here with Nick at MyGo Flight. Nick, thanks for having us. I thought it might be fun to come out and do a little shopping today.
That sounds fantastic. Give me your card first, and then I'll tell you about all the cool stuff.
Wonderful. Sounds great.
So we've got quite a bit of stuff to get started on, so can you guys follow me?
Let's jump right in.
All right. So we came out. There's a problem with GoPros, and FlightFlix have solved this problem. So we have in-flight power, and we've developed an airfoil generator. And what that does is provide pretty much coast-to-coast power. All you have to do is buy our mount, a metal case, our airfoil generator, and you'll be able to plug it in with a special door that keeps it all attached. And now, as long as you have enough memory, you're going to be able to get that full, beyond 27 minutes of battery life that has always tormented influencers because they run out of power by the time they are ready to land. So the next thing we developed was a navigation light mount. And you can see here, nav light. Here's our nav spacer. What the nav spacer does is it provides power to your camera and also a location to mount your GoPro camera or Insta360 camera. So that, in our mind, is pretty cool.
Quick question, Nick. What does the GoPro charge or retail for?
The airfoil generator retails for $479, and some people go, "Oh, that's a little pricey," and I go, "Compared to what?" I don't know anybody out there. And also, if you were to put in a USB power source in your panel, that's going to start at $600 plus you've got installation. This is a PED carry-on, carry-off, no certification required. So I think it's a great value, and you're going to get really what you want, and that's the extended power to get the shot that you want, whether it's early morning or late evening. It'll be available for you.
And does this work for all GoPro models or just specific models?
I believe it's the 9 and newer.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, that would be super handy to have with all the content I've been creating lately. So it's always overheating, dying. It's a massive pain. So I think that is super, super cool what y'all have been working on.
Good. We'll put that on the list, and I have your card.
There we go.
So let's go on to the next spot.
Sounds great.
That's flight bags. And so we've got the Elevate. We've got the Commuter, which is a great crossover bag. We have the PLC Mac Daddy Pro, which seems to be a great seller. And these models here will be discontinued. They're early models, but we need to go ahead and move them through the inventory. And this is a case to carry all of your equipment. And you can snake this around depending on what you have. So it's not necessarily one size fits all. It pretty much fits everything. So you do that, and then you can just put this simply into your flight bag, and you're ready to go off.
What's your favorite bag? There's a lot
My
of options
favorite bag?
here. Yeah, which one's your go-to?
This one, because it carries absolutely everything. I can put my laptop in here. I can put in my iPad in there. I can put charts, paper, cables. You have all of this space available. You have this webbing or this net so that you don't have to open the pocket to see what's in it. So it'll save you time. And just by looking at it, you know what's not there or what is there. And you can see that you set it down, it stands up.
Wow, that's
and
a good
it's
deal.
gusseted so that you could just simply just reach in. So this is the big section here. You put in, a couple days of clothes in there. I don't know if you can get all your shoes in there.
I don't know if I can get all my clothes and
shirt,
shoes, but maybe you can.
I can put my hiking shoes in there and go, or my flip flops with a couple of days clothes, my Doppler bag, and use that. Here's a nice soft spot here to put your keys.
And what does this sell for?
This one is $329.
Okay.
And you can see here, this is for your sunglasses, very soft, won't scratch. You have your office out front, so to speak, is what I call it, is the office. So you put your keys, secure them in there, passport, secure it. Notice this is all interior is light, because a lot of things in aviation are black, and they get lost. Like, where'd it go? And then months later you find it and go, oh, there it is. So we developed a product called Cool Case. And this works with all of our mounts. And you can see the fan running there. These are the rails. So I can put a strap through there, put it on my leg. Or I can mount it. So you put your iPad in here, and this creates some cooling. Plug that in, and now you can charge through the case so that you can use it and charge the iPad at the same time. That goes in right there like that.
And what does that sell for?
This is $329.
Oh, these are perfect for this week. Power banks.
You know, the power banks are fantastic. What's nice about them is it gives you both the lightning cable that you need for your earpods, and you also have the C for everything else. It's quick to power. It's got the PD and the QP standard, so it's fast charging. And just plug it into a 110 outlet. It'll charge in about an hour and a half.
How many charges do you get out of it?
I get about 2.5 on a phone and about 1.5 on an iPad.
Okay.
And you'll really, really like it. We use it all the time. It sits in your palm of your hand behind your iPad, so you can still use your phone.
Nice.
You won't have to be tethered to the wall, that type of thing.
Two.
Yep, the flex suction.
That never leaves my flight bag.
That's
That is the only one I can depend on to actually stay stuck.
Right. And the technology is just really pretty simple. People ask me all the time, well, how do you use this? And I tell folks, well, what you try to do is let this go to a rope, right? So you set it up here. It says press it, pull that up. You're locked and secured. Then this here lets you move it, ingress, egress perhaps. Pop this like this, move it right into place.
I just learned
Done.
something new today.
Oh, okay.
I did.
So this should be at the 12 o'clock position or the 6 o'clock position. Otherwise, you're going to get that natural bounce.
I did not know that.
Right? So there's that. And then let me show you how easy it is to put a case. So one of our cases, I tell folks, just let it go to a rope. Pop it in, move it exactly where you want it.
Can't beat that.
That's it.
Fantastic.
So that's these are our sport cases, and this is our cradle. This cradle comes with 2 lengths of clips. The reason for that is because I can take someone else's case and still have it mounted using our mounts. Or I can use the shorter clips and just have a naked iPad, put it in there, and you can do the mini, full size, or when Apple changes the size, you'll save money by not having to buy a new case. Just use the cradle, grab it, put it, secure it, and off you go.
Perfect. Love that. Which mount is your go-to?
My favorite is the flex bolted quick release. What that means is it's still the flex arm, still the MyGoFlight adapter, but you put these around the plane, the hangar, the garage, the boat. You slide it in, lock it down, again, let it go to a rope, and you can use these collars to help you lock things down. Notice that? Or if I turn it to the U, it will just release it. But most of the time I try to do that because trying to hold the ball is really hard with this. So if you can come over here, you can see what I'm saying a little bit over here in that U. If I do it like this, it'll just fall, it'll fail, right? But if I lock it, now I have the elbow that will manage my deflection, right? Where I can move it down. So making it super, super strong and reliable and safe.
Very good.
So that's my go-to.
Well, I'm learning all sorts of new things.
I learned that you like the suction cup.
I love it because I did have this on an airplane that I was a partner in, and I love that I can just snap it in. It's always there. But on the airplanes I'm renting now, that suction cup is the way to go.
Move it.
Yep.
Or if you're flying with someone else and maybe they don't, what's nice about it, if they don't want to put a suction cup on the window, you can always use the knee strap, put it on there, so it will double. So that's good. One of my favorites, or my wife's favorites, is this one here. It's a bicycle mount. Isn't that crazy? Throw that on the bicycle, center it up. You'll get very little wobble. You can put on another adapter on the back to put your GoPro on the back side, so that's super cool. And then we've got all things from Gulfstream. These are Beach Bonanzas, also Bonanzas. We call our mounts, and you can see how this person decided to use our yoke mount to go down and up, but you can also go up and over.
Wow.
Just kind of depends on how long your torso is, how short your legs are. That type of ability is really important to a lot of pilots because you just can't change the airframe.
Absolutely. Well, there's so much flexibility in y'all's products. I'm a huge fan, like I said.
Thank you.
And yeah.
All right, it's Oshkosh Live, powered by Redbird Flight. Many thanks to Caleb McLeod with Plane and Pilot for that awesome segment with MyGo Flight. This next one is really Ryan's story that he's told and put together. So, Ryan, tell us what we're going to check out next.
Yeah, we're going to check out, Airbus did a little interview with us talking about sustainable aviation fuel, obviously a hot topic in the industry, and Airbus has done a lot on that front. They've committed all their delivery flights to new customers. They're all powered by sustainable aviation fuel. They're hoping to have a 100% or close to 100% SAF goal by 2030. So we talked to one of their SAF experts, and let's roll that.
This aircraft behind me, the A321neo, is one of the most fuel-efficient aircraft we make, if not the most fuel-efficient aircraft. And by using SAF on there, that's helping Delta achieve their decarbonization goals for 2030 and beyond.
Why does SAF, sustainable aviation fuel, matter now?
I think it matters now more than ever because we're seeing the industry is continuing to grow. We need to continue that growth, but in a way that doesn't add more emissions to the atmosphere. So grow it as environmentally friendly as possible. For a company like Airbus, I mean, we see it as part of our license to operate in Europe as they get, more and more mandates around burning jet fuel and stuff like that. So yeah, very much sustainable aviation fuel is a way to allow us to continue to grow the industry. All our delivery flights right now, at an absolute minimum, have 5% SAF on board.
Can you talk about why you guys decided to do that and how it's working so far?
So that's an interesting question because we're trying to do a number of things. Well, one, obviously help our customers decarbonize their business for themselves, but then also by procuring SAF, putting on delivery flights, we're sending a message to the industry that this is real, that there is a demand, and we're kind of helping aggregate that demand. So yeah, right now, certainly if you look at our Mobile facility here in the US, every single delivery flight, 5% SAF on board. And then it also sends a message to regulators, to the local, state, and federal government that we need additional policy incentives to help grow that industry.
Can you talk a little bit about the investments Airbus has made in SAF supply?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that's critical to us, we have the three pillars that we work on, the demand, the supply, and the advocacy. So on the supply side, we've engaged with a number of players here in the US. We've got an investment in a company called DG Fuels, and they manufacture sustainable aviation fuel from a waste feedstock like woody biomass, things like that. They use Fisher Trove. We've also got an investment in a company called LanzaJet, which uses corn ethanol. It uses ethanol to produce jet fuel. Again, an alcohol-to-jet process. So two different technologies. We're trying not to pick a winner, but we're trying to cover as many as possible, again, to try and promote growth in the industry.
What are some policy and cost challenges around SAF that you all are seeing?
That's probably one of the key questions right now. I mean, the one big beautiful bill that just got passed, in the initial text, there was going to be $1.75 available to offset the cost of sustainable aviation fuel to our customers. When the bill finally got passed, that was reduced to $1, so there's no longer that delta there that would help stimulate the supply and stimulate the demand. So that's a key area that we are focused on. There's other elements. There's a renewable fuel standard, which also helps bridge that divide between the cost of SAF and what customers are willing to pay. So that's another focus. But I think what we see now here in the US more than anywhere else, instead of relying on federal subsidies, we're going to switch now to the states and look for state support and where they can bring in additional support. And we see that right now with Minnesota. We're partners with Delta in the Minnesota SAF Hub, and they've been quite instrumental in getting a tax credit passed in Minnesota for SAF that's produced in SAF that's produced in Minnesota and uplifted in Minnesota. So we want to try and replicate that elsewhere in the US.
Can you talk about the path to Airbus getting to 100% SAF utilization by 2030, I think it is?
Yeah, so right now, all of our fleets, all of our aircraft flying, helicopters and commercial jets, they're approved to fly on a 50% blend. The next step is getting to 100% by 2030. That innovation's mostly going to come around the fuel, because that 100% SAF is going to be a drop-in fuel that will be completely transparent to the operators, completely transparent to the infrastructure, won't need any changes. Beyond that, well, that's a whole other kettle of fish. So that 5% SAF that we put on all our delivery flights, we have some customers, even in South America, we have customers that go beyond the 5%. So I wouldn't name names, but some that will take a 30% blend or more if it's available. And likewise in Europe, we've got some customers that go beyond the mandated volume that's required. I wouldn't name and shame, but yes, we have a few customers that are doing that. And we are actively working with our customers on either investments, offtakes, and anything we can do to help facilitate the decarbonization pathway.
It's Oshkosh Live, powered by Redbird Flight. Ryan, great job on that story. Thank you for bringing the Airbus story to us. For the Airline Geeks Power Half Hour is what I'm calling it.
Power half hour, man. We're powering through. We got some coffee here.
30 minutes of electric conversation is now completed. Thank you, buddy, for being with me at the anchor desk.
I couldn't do it without you, because you have this you have an electrical energy about you. And you light up this whole show. People were running up to you saying, "Can I get your autograph?"
They did.
Yeah.
Singular. One.
Well,
that's fine.
But, yeah, and it was somebody we knew. But that's okay.
That's fine.
That's okay. I knew you needed that.
I appreciate this gratuitous self-promotion. But let's not get distracted. There's a lot more show to come. I want to thank Ryan Ewing, founder and editor of Airline Geeks, for hosting the Power Half Hour with me. Up next, Kayla McLeod with Plane and Pilot joins the anchor desk. Stay with us. More awesomeness to come. Oshkosh Live, powered by Redbird Flight.
It's happening. Okay. It's happening. Let's go. It's happening. Let's go. Get the bag. Get the bag. Get. What?
Life's better when you're prepared, especially on the flight deck. Find a Redbird near you and fly like you've been there before.
I help people.
I create music. I shape the future.
I am an entrepreneur.
I inspire people with more than words.
I ride forward.
The sky is not my limit.
Find your blue at MTSU.
Next. So where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Trashed.
Life's better when you're prepared, especially on the flight deck. Find a Redbird near you and fly like you've been there before.
It's Oshkosh Live, powered by Redbird Flight. Welcome to the Plane and Pilot Power Hour with Kayla McLeod with Plane and Pilot. They're not letting me leave the desk. If you could look under it, you would see food wrappers and empty coffee cups. I'm here for you, dear viewers, all morning long. But thank you, Kayla, for joining. She's been in the campground, a woman of the people. How is it out there?
Oh, man, I'll tell you what. It's a little wet, a little sticky out this morning. I rushed in here, couldn't find my bike lock this morning. Oh, but we're here, and we're having a great time. Day 3 of AirVenture.
And from the campground, too, we watched your shopping spree, which looked fun.
Oh,
so
it's always fun doing a little shopping at the show.
And then she runs over to the Redbird booth to be with us here, and we couldn't be more excited. We have a tremendous guest to kick off our Plane and Pilot segment. So, Kayla, who do we have with us?
Yeah, guys, so this is JJ with Hartzell. Thank you so much for being with us this morning, JJ.
Hey, JJ.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I am a big fan of Hartzell myself, flying behind the Hartzell Trailblazer propeller. And then last week I got to experience the Carbon Voyager on a Cessna 185 with my good friend Willie Steen of Steen Aviation in Polson, Montana. We really got to test that propeller out, have a lot of fun with it. So big fan of that, JJ. But let's go back. Tell us a little bit about the history of Hartzell.
Sure, be happy to. So Hartzell the propeller division was founded in 1917. Robert Hartzell was in university at the time and wanted to drop out to be a barnstormer, had a passion for flying, and his dad convinced him to start a propeller division. So it happened to be their neighbor was Orville Wright down in Dayton, Ohio, and so the first customer for Hartzell Propeller was Orville Wright and the Dayton Wright Airplane Company, which we think is a really cool, tracing our roots all the way back to the Wright brothers. So fast forward to kind of into World War I and then the start of World War II, we actually contract manufactured a bunch of blades for Hamilton Standard. So when you look at the old Warbirds and you see Hamilton Standard, some of those were made at our factory. And then we really started to get into the aluminum bladed propellers and got into the constant speed variable pitch side in the kind of the 50s. And progressed then to carbon fiber, which has been the biggest piece of our innovation and new product development for about the last 15 years. So it's been a great ride. We kind of trace our roots to the beginning of flight, but certainly try to stay on the cutting edge of new technology and innovation.
I was just about to say, JJ, how incredible that your brand, your company, has been there for the entirety, really, of the history of flight. Just an incredible parallel there, those two growing together. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's a great history. We're pretty nostalgic about it. It's cool. And then really looking forward, it's been this whole innovation story. So it's pretty neat.
That's incredible. Well, what's your history with Hartzell? What do you do? How long have you been there? Let us know.
Yeah, so I came in about 14 years ago, and I kind of worked my way through the general management and into the president spot in January of 2020. So 5 years now and 5.5, and really January 2020 I was promoted to president. And then, March, 2 months later, COVID broke, and, there was no playbook for that. But it's been a great ride. We've seen, as most of the GA industry has seen, a really strong recovery after COVID, and GA is certainly alive and healthy. So it's been fun.
So is this is probably your 15th, 16th, 20th Oshkosh?
14th. I was just doing that math.
Oh, my goodness. So did you fly in? Did you bring an airplane in? Or?
We did. I didn't personally fly, but we fly TBM up from Piqua, which is about an hour and 15 minutes from here by TBM. So, yeah, we brought the TBM to Appleton this week.
That's awesome. And that's where the company is headquartered, correct?
It is, yeah. Piqua, Ohio, just southwest corner of the state, just north of Dayton.
That's awesome. Do you guys offer any tours? Or?
We do, yeah. So come on in and see. You can see how we make our metal blades, our composite blades, all the other metal parts that go into the propeller that you don't see that are under that spinner on the front. There's somewhere between 125 components, depending on the prop model, in a propeller, and we make about 80% of those right in Piqua. So, yeah, it's pretty neat.
That's incredible. And how long does, I've always wondered this. Your propellers are so gorgeous. I admire them so much. They're sleek. They're sexy. I love them. How long does it take to make one propeller?
Great question. We get that a lot. So, total hours in a propeller ranges from maybe 20 hours in a two-blade propeller, metal blade, to up to sometimes 60 hours of actual labor time. Carbon fiber sounds very cutting edge and very sort of new technology, but it's actually quite a manual process. We're laying up dozens of layers of dry carbon stock over a rigid core, and then we're putting it in a mold, injecting resin, and then finishing it after the cure cycle. So there's a lot of labor that goes into especially the carbon fiber blades that really we have to account for.
So, JJ, we're here on Oshkosh Live talking to obviously a high level of aviation consumer. What are the most important stories that you want to get out, here as we sit here in July 2025?
Yeah, I think just from a Hartzell perspective, we're continuing to invest and innovate. As I mentioned, carbon fiber is a technology we really believe in, and it's something that we've leaned into, especially again the last dozen or so years. We've brought, you can see across the grounds, we've brought a ton of new STCs and TCs onto airplanes with our props, and you can see them all over the grounds. So, Whip Air's got the big 4-blade Yukon prop on the Caravan on floats in front of their booth, and In the Rotax booth, we've got the 3-blade, what we call Falcon retention system. It's our very latest retention system. We can package 3 blades into a small hub that's still variable pitch for 20 pounds, which is about 10 pounds lighter than the next closest variant, and really provide great performance to that Rotax series. So that's something we've been working on for a few years. We didn't have a prop designed for Rotax. And especially as we think about the backcountry and all the new exciting developments with Mosaic and LSA and Sport Pilot, we think that that's going to be a huge growth avenue for us looking at that market.
So if I come to your headquarters in Ohio, I would imagine with a company with your history, there's got to be some amazing pieces of ephemera and memorabilia you have in those archives, or maybe in your lobby there. Is there a couple things from the early days of the company that you have, maybe back in a closet like the Ark of the Covenant, back in the warehouse, or maybe on display?
Yeah, that's a great question. We have in our lobby, we have this cool prop that was actually on an airboat, if you can believe it, a flying ship from 1917. It was one of our original models, and we bought that off eBay a couple years ago, which is pretty sweet. It's got these really cool brass riveted leading edges on it, and it's a piece of art carved out of walnut. And so then I think something else that's really kind of cool is we actually developed this resin and fiber thing that we called Hartzell composite back in the 50s, and actually certified it for some very limited applications. So you can see it looks like wood, but it's actually a mixture of fibers and glue that we put into a compression mold, and we have some Hartzell blades around the building as well. So
awesome.
Yeah, we got some cool old relics.
So I one more question on the history side, and I don't know, getting into some historical gossip per se, but have you heard about Orville Wright as a client back in 1917? Was he an easy guy to deal with? Was he, any word? Is there any rumor? What have you heard?
I have no idea. I heard that they were both a little eccentric, but I am not
sure. Oh, they
sure.
must have been.
Yeah.
Could you imagine them trying to?
Right.
It's incredible.
You got to be a little out there to do what they did, right? I mean, it's amazing. So I'll tell you one quick story, though. We actually didn't just develop propellers. We built airplanes. We built our own airplanes. We had the Hartzell FC-1, which is the initial model. And we decided that building airplanes just wasn't our thing, and we didn't want to be competing against our customers who were also building airplanes. So we just pared that down and focused on the prop side.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Very interesting. And what year was that?
Oh, early, like late teens, 20s type of thing. I mean, it was old wood and plywood construction, right? So, yeah.
That's incredible. Mm-hmm. Now, JJ, what do you fly yourself?
I don't fly. So, I mentioned the TBM. We have a pro pilot flight department. I have never quite gotten it high enough on my to-do list to get the pilot license. So, it's one of those things where I definitely want to, but I want to make sure that I have the time to stay proficient with it.
Absolutely.
And I think, that it's coming. My kids are older now, so I think I'll have some more free time.
That's incredible. Yeah, it's never too late.
Right.
So we're here at Oshkosh. I would imagine Hartzell's had a presence here for a very long time. Sounds like you've been coming for quite a time as well. How have you seen GA change in your eyes here, over that 14, 15 or more years? What do you remember about the first time you came, and then how does it feel now comparatively?
Yeah, when I first started coming, again, I'm a prop guy, right? So everything is sort of measured in propellers to me. So when we first came, we were in Hangar C here. We had a little 20-foot display, and we talked to some customers about the issues they were having with their props or what they could put on their their Bonanza, and talk about top props and all that kind of thing. But now decade ago now, we moved outdoors to the display area here right by the Twin Oaks Food Court. And then this year, we moved our building, which is a 40 by 40 indoor display, down to the old Honeywell Bendix King location. And we're co-located now with our parent company, Signia Aerospace, and our sister companies, Hartzell Engine Tech, Hartzell Aerospace Welding, QAA, and Cleveland Wheel and Brake. So for me, there's been a lot of evolution just within my little world over the past decade, from just being a Hartzell prop guy, working for a private owner, and then migrating to having some sister companies, and then going through a transition to new ownership, and now even more sister companies that we're all tied into Signia Aerospace. So it's been a really great ride. our previous owners, the Brown family, I think were quite well known in the industry. Their father, Big Jim, was a naval aviator and flew warbirds here for many, many years at Oshkosh with his buddies, and his sons, Jim and Joe, ran the company, beautifully for many decades. Transitioning to new ownership has been great as well, continuing to focus on investment. And I think that's a theme not just for Hartzell Propeller, but for our whole industry.
Sure.
Right? We're passionate about what we do, and we want to invest because we want to bring new technology, better equipment, safer equipment, and drive quality. So, to me, obviously, the more things change, the more they stay the same. And what's great about Oshkosh is, as we've all heard many times, you come once for the air show, you come back for your friends and to hang out with the people you like. And that certainly rings true even for guys that are working the show, right? So it's a great week, and to me it's something that I look forward to every year.
Awesome. Well, JJ with Hartzell, thank you so much for stopping by. Wishing you continued success as president. Sounds like this historic story is going to continue to be written. So thank you so much for joining us here on Oshkosh Live to share the Hartzell story and beyond. Have a great rest of the show.
Great.
Appreciate
Thank you.
it. Thanks so much, JJ.
Take care.
Awesome. Kayla. It is. It's great to be with you at the anchor desk. You've been running around, but this next story is another one. You and Plane and Pilot, is a really interesting, very cool feature. And as someone who flies Cubs, probably connects to you very personally as well. Tell us a little bit about what our audience is about to see.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been flying for the last 10 years, and I learned to fly in old tail draggers, an Aranca Champ specifically, and then I transitioned and made my way into J3 Cubs, Carbon Cubs, Super Cubs, all the Cubs, and now I'm getting to fly a Husky, which is fun as well. It's just been a great road for me. I'm a tail dragger girl at heart, but there is one Cub species that I have yet to fly, and that is the Legend Cub. And if you're familiar with the name Trent Palmer, you'll know where I'm going with this. Trent is a Legend Cub owner, and he is located out west. He does a ton of backcountry flying with this particular aircraft. And I got to sit down with him, actually walk around with him yesterday and check out his Legend Cub, which is sitting over at the Garmin booth if you're here at the show and would like to go check it out. I got to climb in it, sit in it, compare it to some of the other Cubs I'm more familiar with. We just had a great time.
Awesome. Let's meet Trent Palmer.
Hey everyone, Kayla McLeod here with Plane and Pilot Magazine, and I'm with Trent Palmer. We are here at the Garmin booth. And thanks so much, Trent, for coming out and talking to us today.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
Yeah. So, Trent, I'm a Cub girl. I love Cub Crafters products. I love Super Cubs. I love old J3s. I know nothing about these Legend Cubs, though. I've never even sat in one. I'd love to try it on for size, kind of compare, and maybe do a little walk around in the airplane and, just get to know it a little bit.
Yeah. Well, so for someone that understands Cubs, but doesn't know necessarily about Legend, what we're working with is a modern day Super Cub. And when I say that, I mean these were PA-18 plans. Legend widened the fuselage 3 inches. They've added some reinforcements for the large baggage that we'll show you. They also, from the front gear attached forward, have beefed things up for heavier engines. Obviously, that's not the case with the Rotax 916, but what I end up with is a very strong utility aircraft that still flies light and sporty, and it kind of is a no-compromise Cub.
Awesome. So for people that might not be familiar with your YouTube channel, can you just give the folks back at home a brief summary of who you are and what you do with this airplane?
Yeah, well, my name's Trent. I'm based in Reno, Nevada. I am a filmmaker by trade, although slowly shifting more to YouTube content creation, and I fly a big tire plane in the backcountry and avoid pavement at all costs.
Right.
And I just try to bring people along for the adventure.
All right, awesome. Well, let's go try it on for size.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, so what it should feel like, again, versus a Carbon Cub and some of the other competitors that are Cub-like, this is a Cub. We're talking most of the parts from a Piper or a PA-18 are going to bolt right onto this thing. Yep. With the widening of the fuselage, you'll feel that you have a lot more shoulder room. A Carbon Cub does as well. What they do is they bow their fuselage out at shoulder height. On the Legend Cub, we're 3 inches wider at the gear attach as well as the spark carry-throughs. You'll see the X bracing like the Atlee Dodge stuff in a standard Super Cub. All the mods that ever came out on Super Cubs are integrated into these from the factory. But I'll close this just so you can get a feel for the width.
Check it out.
It is a bit wider. It's not too much. There's actually some of the other, ultra utility Alaska Cubs that are so wide that you almost feel like you have to lean over to see out the side. That's not the case with this plane. So to me, it's a really good compromise of everything you could kind of ask for out of a Cub without too much sacrifice.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It feels super Cub-like, Husky-like, Carbon Cub-like with some of the details and the finishing. Of course, the Garmin G3X. Do you mind if I pull on this and feel it out a little bit? I like the height of it. It's a little bit shorter, I feel like, than a Carbon Cub stick.
Could be.
But I feel like it's a really great natural height there. That is awesome. Wow. Super clean panel setup. I guess you got your G5 backup.
Yep.
So is this instrument?
It's not,
okay.
But at some point we might try to find space for a navigator and do that. I'd love to get my instrument rating. Currently I'm just private, so love to do that in this plane. But the reason I placed that there was I'd like to be able to let Haley, my wife, sit in the front. Yeah. And then from the back I can actually see that G3X without her having to move. So I can use it as the primary flight display.
Very good.
Few other things about the plane. Obviously, with the Rotax, it's liquid over air, so it's liquid cooled. And with that, we can run a heater that's not just off the heat muff, which has a couple advantages. One is that there's not really any chance we're going to get carbon monoxide in the cabin, but below your seat, there's a heater core, and it's got vents that go forward and back, so I have front and rear heat.
Wow, that's a game changer.
Yeah, and then
that is not normal.
Both seats are heated, so I've got heated seats front and rear. We've got pilot and passenger USBs for power. I've got Starlink in the back, and then I also have 5 additional USB ports that are all triggered off a switch for running my cameras.
That's incredible.
The other thing, which I guess I should just show you because it's kind of cool. Let me get my keys. I outfitted it with a long-wave infrared camera that's in the wing, which is a thermal camera. So the point of that, there's a lot of wildfire smoke out on the West Coast. This can see straight through smoke, and I mean miles, and in the dark. And what we did was we got the one that has the proper field of view and the same tilt to match the synthetic vision. So basically it validates what the synthetic vision shows with a thermal or infrared camera.
We're creeping on people in a whole new way right now.
Yeah. And so that right side, you're just seeing heat signatures off the people, the background. I mean, you can even see the clouds in the air, and that's how far away it sees. Garmin avionics are so dang reliable, but if there ever were to be something wrong with the AHARS unit that's doing something weird, now I can validate it with an actual sensor that's showing me what's in front of me. I wouldn't use it as the primary flight instrument, but just for situational awareness, it's pretty huge.
That is awesome. So how much fuel are you carrying on board?
So I got 2 20-gallon tanks, and we have a 1.5-gallon header tank under the passenger seat.
And what does it burn?
It depends on your cruise speeds. So that's the other thing. Standard Cub on 35s, you're probably looking at about 85 mile per hour cruise. Yep. I eco cruise at 105 to 110, but if I want to push the power in, 115, 120 all day long.
Wow.
Miles per hour.
Are you kidding me? You can't fly around with the normal Cubs. I mean...
No, I can slow to their speed. So at Cub speed, I'm burning 4.5, 5 gallons an hour. It gives me 8 hours of range. At the higher speeds, I'm more like 6 hours. Wow. Obviously can run car gas, being the Rotax, so anything 91, whether it's leaded, unleaded, ethanol, no ethanol, doesn't really care, it runs it.
Wow, very cool. Well, how do you like the Rotax 916 compared to the other engines, that you might have flown behind?
Well, I've flown extensively behind Rotax, and I'm very comfortable behind them, but at the end of the day, they've just got technology that the others don't have yet, and they punch way outside of their rated horsepower class. You might notice the size of this prop. That's a 3-blade prop. This thing's only rated at 160 horse. We're able to spin a bigger prop at a lower RPM, which is closer to the peak efficiency range for that size prop. So we're making the effective thrust of about 185 to 190 horsepower out of this. But it's turbocharged, so as we go up higher, there's no loss in power, and these blades actually, the peak efficiency is at 5,000 to 6,000 feet. So I make more thrusts taking off at my house at 6,000 feet than I do down here, and I make full takeoff horsepower to 15,000. So density altitude is a non-event. It's not a concern.
Factor.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm just now starting to fly out in Montana and in Idaho. Coming from Georgia, density altitude is not really a thing. And you know, having this 916, I'm sure is just an absolute game changer.
So the wing, just while we're under here enjoying the shade because it's hot out. What we did, just as kind of an experiment, it was something that Legend was already working with. We integrated a leading edge cuff into the front end of the wing. So that pushed the leading edge 2 inches farther out. It's a tighter profile, so it's lower drag. But with the integrated cuff, it's also very happy at slow speeds. The problem we were running up against is the Rotax is so light that when we extended the leading edge of the wing, we just moved the center of lift forward, which would effectively make it tail heavy, and I have a gigantic baggage that was going to be rendered unuseful. So what we did was we extended the flaps and ailerons back 2 inches as well, kept the center of lift in relatively the same spot. 4 inches more chord means about 10 square feet more wing than a standard Super Cub.
Wow.
But it's lower drag. So we've got a larger lifting surface that is less drag, so I cruise faster and theoretically land slower. Right. I don't know for sure how much slower, but it does pretty good.
Well, what are you typically landing at?
So I have some funny things going on with my airspeed, and I don't know if it's the placement of my pitot or what, but every time I turn final, doesn't matter what the windsock's saying, Garmin's telling me I have a headwind. Okay. So I think I'm landing slower than what it says. At full flap power on stall, I'm indicating about 34 miles an hour. Wow. I don't touch down at that. I'm normally a little higher because, man, this thing's like, I don't have slats. I have VGs very close to the leading edge, so it hangs like it's slatted. Yeah, it lands slow. It cruises fast. It does a little bit of everything pretty dang well.
So you've got quite the setup going on in here. So maybe for some people that maybe aren't particularly familiar with backcountry flying, do you want to just go through some of the basics that you've always had with you here in the airplane? I see the spot. The inReach. Maybe just go through that a little bit.
Yeah, so I mean, here's the aft baggage. This section is considered extended baggage. The front baggage can hold 180 pounds. That's where all your heavy stuff goes. The farther back baggage is more for light goods, but we also have a molly rack system, which is what everything's attached to. So starting at the back, I always keep an airband radio with me. This is a little saw for cutting firewood, or if you ended up at a strip that maybe you needed to extend a little bit, you can use that. This is just kind of a universal pouch that holds, cleaning supplies, my sump. Like you said, this is actually a backup inReach. I have an inReach in the front, and if I'm getting really remote, I will have that one attached to my body where the other one's on my panel, just to be sure. Cleaner, first aid kit, tool kit, have to be in the plane at all times. This battery is actually what powers the Starlink. So the plane's set up to when the power is on, it's charging this battery. The battery then passes through power to the Starlink. So I have Wi-Fi or internet in flight. But then when I land, as long as that's plugged in, I have another 11 hours of internet on the ground. So when you're in the backcountry camping, you're always connected. And then the Starlink's just mounted back here. It's on a magnetic mount, so if you want to take it out and move away, if you're camping farther away from the plane, you can do that. Otherwise, it just finds its home on those, and then it's down, awesome. It doesn't move.
Well, it really sounds like, the airplane is a little bit of everything for you in so many ways. I think that's the big takeaway and the big theme. It sounds, you can cruise, you can go in the backcountry, you can land on the sand. What can't this airplane do?
Yeah. I will say the only compromise that I'm coming from a Kit Fox, that's what everyone keeps asking, is I'm flying a bigger wing through the air with huge ailerons at a higher speed. With that, the stick pressure is higher. If you're just trying to yank and bank and follow a river, it's a little less sporty. But the trade-off is stability across the board. So landing really slow, heavily loaded with gusty wind conditions, I mean, this thing is rock solid, and it just gives you the confidence to be able to go in and out of the places that I go. I'm not going to say regardless of the conditions, but in more adverse conditions, and do it safely, reliably every day. I wasn't anti-Cub, but, I was always getting bullied by the Cub guys forever, and it was kind of a playful banter, and then here I am jumping ship, and I'm like, dang it, they were kind of right. It's I see why the J3 has such a good reputation and has such a soft spot in everyone's heart, and now having flown those and flown Super Cubs and now this, it's kind of my modern techie version of that, and it's a lot of fun.
That's incredible. Well, thank you so much for giving me a little tour and for introducing me to a world that I really didn't know much about. So now I can say I've sat in one. It is very Cub-like. And yeah, this is incredible. Thank you so much, Trent.
Yeah.
And always looking forward to seeing the kind of content you're putting out.
It's Oshkosh Live, powered by Redbird Flight. We are back. Kayla, super cool package with Trent Palmer. Thank you for putting that together, spending some time with him. You had mentioned Trent is a cinematographer for feature films. As his career and his training. Now really a full-time content creator. Is that fair to say?
That's
or close
right.
to it?
That's right.
And you said that there were probably about 40 people hanging out while you guys were doing that interview. That's pretty cool.
Yes, it was super interesting, even just looking at the demographic of individual that was standing around the 30 to 40 people. I mean, it was mainly gentlemen in their 60s to 80 age range, which was super interesting to me to see that age group is still so interested in what's going on, particularly on social media. So that was super interesting to me.
Awesome. Well, great job on that package. Thank you for putting that together. Well, Kayla, we're coming to the end of our time together here today. And I will say that when it comes to you, I have seen you running here. I've seen you end and run away. And all I can think is I don't know what your schedule looks like, but you clearly have places to be. So tell us a little bit, editor of Plane and Pilot, what does the next 24, 40 hours look like for you? What stops do you have ahead? What are you going to be doing?
Yeah, so today's, I think, probably my most anticipated day of the entire week.
Okay.
Yes, I'm very much looking forward to some things we've got going on. Here later in the afternoon, I'm going to be meeting up with the Titan Aerobatic team. This is a great group of gentlemen. They are featured on the July issue of Plane and Pilot magazine. So I'm going to meet up with them, take some magazines over to them. We're going to watch the air show from the Performer Tent with them tonight, which I can't wait. It's the best seat in the house. And then before that, hanging out with Husky, drinking a few beers, having a good time. And then get this, Shawn, you're going to freak out. The Goodyear blimp.
Yes, tell us.
I cannot wait. This is a dream come true. I emailed these guys back in April thinking, hey, it's worth a shot. Let's see if they say yes. Well, 20 minutes after I sent the little email to her requesting a media flight, she said, yes, absolutely, we'd love to get you on. And yes, so this is 100 years of the Goodyear blimp. So we're going to be going up and taking y'all along for the ride. It's definitely a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
I look forward to looking up and pointing at me like, there she is. She was just at the desk, and here she is now over the airstrip, over the airfield. So cool. We'll have a ton of fun, and obviously that package will be on our show tomorrow.
Yes.
We'll get to experience your time with the Goodyear blimp. Have a lot of fun. Well, Kayla, once again, great spending time with you. Thanks for bringing your stories and the guests. Check Kayla out and all her cool stories in Plane and Pilot magazine and on Plane and Pilot's website. It's about time for you to run. Which direction are you running next?
I don't know. I have to look at the schedule, but it's running. I'm going to throw the headset off and run.
All right. Well, thank you, Kayla. Great being with us. Stay with us. More good stuff to come on Oshkosh Live, powered by Redbird Flight.
It's happening. Okay. It's happening. Let's go. It's happening. Let's go. Get the bag. Get the bag. Yeah. What?
Life's better when you're prepared, especially on the flight deck. Find a Redbird near you and fly like you've been there before.
I help people.
I create music. I shape the future.
I am an entrepreneur.
I inspire people with more than words.
I ride forward.
The sky is not my limit.
Find your blue at MTSU.
Next. So where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Trashed.
Life's better when you're prepared, especially on the flight deck. Find a Redbird near you and fly like you've been there before.
It's Oshkosh Live, powered by Redbird Flight. It's me again, haven't gone anywhere, Shawn Bean, with my esteemed co-host, Ryan Ewing.
He's very complimentary today. Very complimentary.
I feel like I give you all kinds of support.
Well, you do. Emotional, mostly emotional.
Yeah, anyway, I'm here for you.
Thanks, buddy.
We are now here, 2.5 hours of broadcasting here from the Redbird booth. Things are popping. Young, corruptible minds are being influenced over here.
Yeah.
We've got people rocking the simulators behind us. Knapp Street starting to fill up. Golf
Boeing
carts.
Plaza, nice and busy.
Absolutely. The busiest air control tower in the world.
Right
now.
now.
Over here.
Right at this moment.
Right at this moment. I believe that it was 118, average of 118 takeoffs and landings a day here, which is obviously pretty incredible.
You just have all the stats today.
I do have all the stats. I mean, I obviously prepared. I care deeply about Oshkosh Live, powered by Redbird Flight, and I hope you do as well.
I do. But you are a very statistical guy, and that's what I like about you.
Well, thank you. Well, let's transition from some self-promotion to an aircraft walk-around. You all, if you've been with us for the past few days, we've been having some really great packages, doing some aircraft walk-around here on the grounds here. Also, another fun fact about 1,200 acres of mowed grass at Oshkosh.
Oh, man,
I'm sorry.
Just full of them today, man.
I'm a dad, so I feel like I'm fulfilling my full dad power with factoids and statistics and stuff.
That could be your other job here, hosting Oshkosh Live and mowing.
Yes. Well, now let's go out to one of those packages right now, walk around, Cub Crafters walk around. Let's take a look.
Everybody, we're here with Mark Keniston of Cub Crafters, and behind us is the very first experimental amateur-built NX Cub, right?
That's true. That's a kit that we're now offering as an X Cub. So we've had for years, we've had the EX kit and then the EX2 and the EX3. And now with demand, we're also going to offer the X Cub as a kit.
Well, I was really happy when this came along because at Kit Planes, we do experimental amateur built. So as such, I couldn't really get my hands on the X Cubs, right? And then you guys dropped this off at my house about a month or so ago and left it for me for 3 weeks.
Yes,
we
did.
took this airplane to paved runways, to unpaved runways, to gravel strips, to dirt, to lake beds, and things that look like runways and some places that didn't look like runways.
And you're still smiling.
And I'm still smiling because I've really, as a tail dragger pilot my whole life, I love this nose wheel on this Cub.
I'm glad to hear you say that because just the other day on social media, I had somebody comment, "What's that doing on there? Why would you have that?"
Right. I mean, it looks, okay, let's face it, like a tri-pacer, but you know what? Those are pretty stable airplanes. So tell us about the kit.
So the kit, much like our other airplanes, is offered in a box that we have back here. That's our first one in the box. This is serial number 1. It's the kit that I was involved in building for the factory. This is it right here. It's serial number 1. It's a 215 horsepower Lycoming engine with a constant speed Hartzell prop. It has Lycoming's fuel injection and Lycoming's electronic ignition. It's a 2,300 pound gross weight airplane. It's fast. You configure it with either the nose wheel like you flew.
Yep.
You flew this airplane.
Yep.
You can configure it as a tail wheel. You can do that too. You can do it with either the spring gear or the legacy triangular shaped gear.
Okay.
So,
and I heard that this one is going to go on floats.
This is going on floats. How much were you told about our floats?
I won't give anything away.
Yeah, please. Yeah,
I won't. But it's a great airplane. So how long is it going to take somebody to build one?
So we advertise typically on our other 2 kits 800 to 900 hours for that. I've built 2 of them now. I would tell you that I spend a little bit more time than that, but I'm also interrupted too with the telephone, the computer, things like that. I kind of get off track. But I would tell anybody if you can spend 3 to 4 hours a day uninterrupted, and that's the key, uninterrupted by your phone, computer, kids, wife, games, whatever.
Right.
You can do it in a year, or just a little bit more than a year.
Okay, that's good.
Flying.
That's pretty good. That's
Sure.
pretty good. And is this traditional open fabric or is this Ortex?
Yes, this is exactly what we use in the factory. You're aware of the Ortex. We now offer that on our UL airplanes, but this is polyfiber.
Got it.
And it also has the PPG paint system on it.
Okay. This is a beautifully finished airplane.
Thank
Why
you.
don't we take a little look at it and you can show us some of the features?
Sure. Absolutely. We'll do that. Yeah. So, Paul, as you know, Piper built around 960 Pacers, but they built over 9,500 Tri-Pacers. So Jim Richmond, along with our other senior leadership team members, thought it was a great idea to have a nose wheel on the front of the airplane. This airplane will do about 96% of anything anybody wants to do in a tailwheel airplane. As I said earlier, a 2,300-pound gross weight, a premium interior. That's what the X-Cub is. It's our premium top-of-the-line airplane. So everything you see is finely appointed in the airplane. Leather side panels, leather seats, a lot of carbon fiber. And one thing to note certainly is our control system is operated in the ailerons with a push rod. So that's in this wing strut here. You don't see any cables.
Right.
So it's quick acting. It has a taller control stick. It's lighter in roll control, and you feel that instantaneously in the air. The other thing that you'll find with the airplane, the gross weight, the things that we are able to do with the airplane because it has a higher gross weight. You can take this airplane places. You can change the gear configuration. It really does a lot of things. And around the house here, we talk about this as being our switchblade or our Swiss Army knife, if you will.
Sure.
So many things that you can do with it. This particular airplane has the G3X in it, the Executive Glass Touch, the Garmin Autopilot. It does have our top-of-the-line paint scheme, which is new for this year. And you'll notice our other airplanes also are sporting the same scheme.
Mm-hmm.
And this one, as I said, is a nose wheel. Again, you can make it a tail wheel in about 4.5 hours. It's an easy conversion. We lift the airplane up in the air. Yep.
Bolts on up here.
It sure does. We remove this composite trim here, this fairing, take a different gear leg and move it up here, and it has a different rake forward.
Got it.
And then take the nose wheel out of it, which is an easy changeover as well, because this nose wheel truss is connected with hardware. It's not welded in there. 4 bolts, you can pull it down, and then we have other composite components to fill in that void.
Very nice.
Put the tail wheel on it, and you're ready to go.
Okay. Really nice. And I see there's a baggage compartment back here.
Correct. Yep. Most all of our airplanes have extended baggage. This particular airplane also has 50 gallons of fuel. The seat is what we call our sling seat. It's easily removable. So in theory, you can take the seat out and stack luggage from the rear stick all the way back.
All the way back. Yeah, that's a lot of volume.
I like to tell people if you can fit it in the airplane, it'll fly it. As long as it's not gold or lead.
It is Oshkosh Live, powered by Redbird Flight. It's me, Director of Awesome Shawn Bean, here with founder and editor of Aviation Geeks, Ryan Ewing, but also the Senior Director of Digital Content for the Firecrown Aviation Group.
It's good to be back.
Man,
it's good to be back.
My intros.
You know, that's what you do best. It really is.
I hype you up.
You're the intro guy.
And can I do this next intro too?
Yeah.
I would like to welcome our next guest, our next super awesome guest, the Outfitter-in-Chief.
Love that.
Yeah.
At Flight Outfitters, President Mark Glassmeyer. Welcome to Oshkosh Live, Mark.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
So you told us before you started you didn't want to be what?
Yeah, I don't want to turn this into a ShamWow commercial. You know, like
well, why not?
Well, I think it's pretty, like the brand's pretty much a celebration of what you see out here, our tribe and the people and this family reunion. So the brand's based in that. So I'd like to talk about, you know, the people and everything and what's going on and how we're doing and how Flight Outfitters, we try to like fit into that tribe, if you will.
So, you know, for those at home, those watching who may not know, give us a quick synopsis of Flight Outfitters, what you do, what you don't do.
Well, Flight Outfitters is kind of the story of Oshkosh in a way. I came to my first Oshkosh way back in the 1900s, you know, back in the 80s with my grandfather. It sounds weird to say, but it was the 1900s.
It was.
And so we came to Oshkosh with this whole B-24 Liberator crew. They were all still alive. We get here, and that's the first time I really saw the sea of general aviation airplanes. And to me, that was something I wanted a little bit of a part of. And so, you know, you have high school, college, and you just try to find your way back here, I guess is the right way to do it. And Flight Outfitters became the vehicle that kind of brought me back here. And it really was that I took so much pride in being a pilot. I wanted to show that off, but I didn't want it to be like in your face, I'm a pilot above everyone else. You know, I wanted a little bit of subtlety. The elevator pitch thing you would say is like Patagonia for pilots, basically. Just something aspirational living that celebrates who we all are.
So, from a retail design perspective, like, did you see a hole in the market as far as something that was just kind of, because what I'm seeing is a lot of like clean, simple, sleek, really, cool design. What is your philosophy
I
on
wanted
that?
them to be flight functional, first of all, because it's got to work in the airplane. So, like, little things like our hats don't have buttons. We're not the first people to do it. But everything we have, we'd like to have a certain nod for aviation. Like, that's not just a backpack. There's a place for a fuel tester headset in there. Everything is designed by pilots for pilots. Purpose made, yeah. Flight functional.
Yeah.
So, and then beyond that, I did want it to look good, and I wanted it to be simple and kind of reserved. I didn't want to be, airplanes are bold enough. We'll let the gear just kind of be the gear, if you will.
So tell us about the full, as far as SKUs. I mean, is it really, you got everything going on here?
We started with flight bags, so that's what we did best. Because my parent company, Norris Products, made private label bags for years and years, so for police, fire, EMS. So we set out to make the best flight bag for the modern pilot when we first started the company. And then I really love the aspirational living part of the Alaskan flying, and I love flying with those guys, and a lot of my friends are up there. And in fact, let me just pause and talk about this. This shirt is it's for one of our friends up in Alaska that we lost this year, Dan Bunker. So this is one thing we are selling. The proceeds are going to go support the family. And I talked about that aviation tribe later on tonight. A bunch of us that knew him really well, we're going to meet. We bought him a brick by the Brown Arch.
Oh, wow.
So we're all going to put these shirts on and just kind of go have a moment for Dan. And that's really says everything about the people around here and the brand.
Well, that's a great point, and we've heard it over and over a lot about you come the first time for the work, the business, the networking, and you stay for the relationships and all the socializing. Is that clearly that's your story as well, right?
I'm sure it's been said over and over here again, so I hate to be parrot repeating that, but it's the we say it because it's a reason. It really does feel like a family reunion and old friends. There's people that you've seen. You see them. Sometimes you only see them here once a year, and people probably said that, but it's like you left.
Yeah.
There's something. I actually wrote for Airfax. I wrote an article that says, "Do we like people or just pilot, or do we like people or pilots?" You know, and there's this dynamic like it just crushes these barriers, and like we have a common ground to talk about. We all kind of think the same. We're all kind of a little crazy, a little ambitious, but we get along. We play nice under the Oshkosh tent, I guess is the way we put it.
So how long has Flight Outfitters been around for?
So we celebrated our 10-year anniversary last year. So this is our 11th year. And we launched at Oshkosh with 2 bags and a booth, and now we've got all the chairs that we welcome people to sit outside of Hangar B. We offer all the Adirondack chairs to sit there. We've got a great display in Hangar B by the bathrooms. Remember B. We have a full line of merchandise there. We also have a great partnership with AOPA, so we're in the AOPA tent. Go to see your AOPA gear. You can see Flight Outfitters people there, Flight Outfitters gear, along with all the AOPA gear that we've been blessed enough to start making this year for AOPA, and that's been a great relationship as well.
So tell me, in the past handful of years, like, have you been scrolling on the socials or maybe flipping through a magazine and seeing your merch in like a cool photo or in a cool spot? Do you have anything that stands out to you, or where you've seen Flight Outfitters merch
I'll
show
tell you,
up?
and not to get too savvy, but when I have those moments, it's when because my grandfather and all those B-24 Liberator crew, they're all gone now. So many of those, that greatest generation is. So I have those moments when I'd be like, man, I wish Grandpa could see that dude just walk by with that hat on. You know what I mean? Like, it's like you see, I see Flight Outfitters in the wild. And so it's I guess it's not more about me. It's just about, like, he would love this. You know what I mean? Because he loved this place. Then to see, like, some of our family DNA getting weaved into it, it's pretty cool.
Awesome. I'm no marketing genius, but I would imagine it's got to be hard to sell severed feet on your website.
We had to get that here with a tow truck.
Oh, I see.
It's a really little tow truck. I know you guys like dad jokes. You heard it, right?
Yeah.
No, but we got socks. So we really branched out from the bag. So we have apparel, sweatshirts. We've got SPFs, quarter zips, and see, I told you I wasn't shambling.
No, it's great.
But wait, there's more.
And 4 easy installments.
4 easy installments.
There you go. But we just really hope you, and if you're part of the tribe, and we just want to celebrate it, and so birds of a feather flock together. We just hope they all wear the same apparel, and it's ours.
Well, I know you were talking about your backpacks, and clearly, like, that is like, so many opinions, so specific regarding, like, a pilot's backpack. Tell me, like, just a little bit about, like, when it comes to fashion and function, because there's certainly a lot of them out there. What are the key elements that an ideal backpack for pilots is going to have, or in that your Flight Outfitter backpacks are going to have?
Well, definitely the headset. So you have the different types of pilots. So you have student pilots that have to carry a lot of stuff. They have all the books and materials and that sort of thing. And then you have an owner-operator that maybe the headsets live in the airplane, right? So they don't even need it. You're like, hey, you want a headset bag? You're like, no, it's hanging from the hook in my airplane. I never take them out. So they have a different mission set. They're looking for something maybe for a change of clothes, just their logbook, things are personal to them. Maybe they were videoing, so they got some video equipment they don't want to leave in the airplane to download or whatever. So we try to make bags that, if you try to be all things to everyone, you're going to be nothing to no one type of thing. So we have very specific categories. So we have a lift line, which has everything from that student pilot bag that needs a lot of room to just a very minimalistic type of bag that would be for an owner-operator. Then we've got a bush pilot line, which is more like an Orvis-looking type of line, so more of a fashion. Maybe there's not even a piece of aviation equipment in that bag, but it's in the airplane. It's part of the travel set that's going with with the family that has it. The craziest one, though, is knee boards. For some reason, everyone has an opinion about knee boards, and it is so hard. We try to update. The product we update the most is knee boards. It's this clip. No, it's that clip. No, it's this strap. And so we're really trying to get more selection in the knee board world because there are so many strong opinions on how to have it. And a lot of them are very legitimate, so we really try to listen to the customer. Like a seaplane pilot needs to get rid of that thing really quick, if they're pulling up to the dock. So things like that we try to work with everyone. And we really listen to our PIREPs. Every product has a little PIREP form in it, and, man, we use that nonstop for product development. Yeah.
Great.
Very interesting stuff. So anything else as far as like 2025? I mean, clearly when it comes to merch and apparel, so many different directions you can go. Is there anything that you're going to be expanding into, or you're excited to be growing this year?
So a little bit of inside baseball
Let's
here, if
do
you
it.
want. With the business report, I guess. So what I would say is earlier on in the year we were a little terrified, if you will. There's another dad. So we kind of slowed some of the product development up, not knowing, because we manufacture all around the world, and the landscape was changing. So we have a lot of stuff that has been developed that is now in the sampling and production area. So it's going to be a really fun Christmas and a really great spring next year. So
awesome.
Look for Flight Outfitters to come out of the gate really strong with some really neat new stuff.
So for all the people who are at the show, obviously it sounds like you've got a great presence here, but for those who are watching our live stream, what's the best place to find Flight Outfitters out in the world?
Out in the world, flightoutfitters.com, Hangar B by the bathrooms, and the big orange chair, AOPA tent, and your EAA warehouse stores all have Flight Outfitters merchandise as well. Thank you to all those people. Sporty's Pilot Shop has it here in town. Aircraft Spruce, Fallon, if they're in town, has it. Pretty much everyone has it. Gulf Coast, Pacific Coast, they're around. So we really appreciate all of our retail partners that support us, and really just thanks to the family, the big family, yeah.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you very much to the Outfitter-in-Chief with Flight Outfitters.
I'm never going to live that one down, but thank you.
Mark Glassmeyer. Thanks for coming by. Again, super slick, really great-looking stuff. Congratulations, and we're rooting for you. And have a great show.
Thanks for helping get the word out about everything. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Mark. All right, great segment, great merch. We're keeping all this. We're editors. We steal everything. Thank you so much. This has been great. Now let's throw it to a very cool package with our friends at GlassStar. Take it away.
Thanks, guys.
Well, hi, everybody. Tom Wilson here at AirVenture 2025. I'm talking to Amy Wilkins about GlassStar. And
when and why the GlassStar? I learned to fly back in 2013. I had a Cessna 150 for 6 years. I loved it, but eventually I grew tired of not being able to go where I wanted and take what I wanted. Someone introduced me to the GlassStar. I got a ride at the closest one I could find up in the Washington area, where thankfully they're pretty prevalent up there. Immediately fell in love, found this one for sale on the classifieds on the forum, picked it up in 2020 from a builder. His name was Richard Stewart. He built it in 2000, so it was 20 years old when I bought it. It got its paint job in 2002, this lovely yellow color that has grown on me very slowly. It does everything I wanted to do. I needed it to be affordable. I'm far from living that retired life. I came from a 150, right? That is my world. And so it had to be affordable, but I wanted it to be more capable, and the GlassStar just checked all those boxes. And I was looking for a tailwheel. When I bought it, it was in trike. Got it converted to a tailwheel, and it's just everything I was looking for in an airplane.
Great. I'm old enough that I learned to fly in a 150.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I kind of gone off the deep end, really. 150's been... What's been the best thing for you about moving from a 150?
Definitely cruising speed. One of the first things I noticed is even with a 10 or 20 knot headwind, I still have a triple-digit ground speed, which warms my heart. So really, it's the speed difference, payload difference, the fuel, just being able to go faster, farther, and take. And then obviously, my goes about 7 to 8 gallons an hour.
Must be.
It's been very, very simple. I'm an aircraft mechanic. I got my license in 2022. And did the Part 147 round with my GI Bill. So I've been able to use that to do all the maintenance. Being an experimental, I do all the condition inspections.
Huge advantage.
Huge advantage. It's extremely simple because the construction is extremely simple. There's not even an oleo strut or anything like that. That's pre-built. You got wheel bearings. You got your inspection of your main structure. It's very easy airplane to maintain. So this was a bit of a barn for me. As I said, I came from Cessna 150 and I discovered this beauty in Durango, Colorado. The builder eventually lost his medical and decided he wasn't going to let it sit. So after about 6 years of sitting, we found it, picked it up. So it's far from perfect, right? We've got a lot of upgrades planned, but right now it's got 150 horsepower. To answer your question quite simply, 150 horsepower like homing. Yep, old 320 E2G. Came off of a Grumman Yankee once before in its prior life. I didn't look that up. And at sea level, it's a wonderful performer. We live in the Denver area, and so it does leave some to be desired. We pick our days, and it still does just great. You don't go through a mountain pass when it's blowing 25, obvious.
Right, yeah, you fly in the mornings.
Pick a morning, pick a nice smooth day. It does fine in the density altitude, but a lot, I think, have 180 horsepower and up, and so they do tend to perform better.
Sure. How do you feel on the fixed pin product?
It came with it. It's not my choice, obviously. We're planning to go to a constant speed as well, which really also helps up in Denver, be able to get that full RPM range, get off the ground.
So you're working with in the mountains.
Exactly.
I mean, unfortunately, the constant speed is expensive. You have to buy. I mean, the governor, you have to overhaul them every so often. I mean, they really add to it. But at some point, the performance that they give is probably.
Exactly. That's so true. It's worth it, I think, in the Denver area where we live. Where a lot of days the density altitude is 9,000 feet on the ground, and you're starting at 9,000 feet to get off the ground, and so every RPM that you can make makes a huge difference. And so, come back next year, we'll have a whole new engine, a whole new prop, a whole new panel. It's going to be an entirely different airplane. But as of right now, it is. You know, I got into it affordably. It's a wonderful, extremely capable airplane, even as it is.
And you're camping here? Do you camp out in the west in the mountains? Is that what you
I do, yeah. Actually, I've taken this on a few camping trips. This is the 10 I usually take with me, too. So I went out solo last year for a 4-day kind of a camping trip. I fit a folding bike in the back, a tent, just go have a great time. It's got tons of baggage space, 250-pound capacity.
Which is something we don't talk about a lot in off-road airplanes. But if you're going off-road, you have to carry it all with you.
Walk around to a little bit something.
Love the door. This is a perfect example of the ease of loading with the strut behind the door aperture.
Yes.
And the door completely out of the way.
Yep.
You maximizes your ability to get stuff in.
It's all the way open. And you'll notice there's a lot of headroom in here. It's a very wide cabin. My husband and I can sit in here, and we're not even close to touching shoulders. And the seats.
That's not a 150.
It's not a 150. And when you fold the seat down, you just have a massive cargo compartment in the back.
Yeah, it's like having your own boxcar.
It really is. Yes, it's a perfect two-seater. It's everything you need. It's 2 seats and plenty of room to haul.
How do you do on weight and balance when you're loaded out?
This is a little more sensitive to weight and balance than some other aircraft, but it's still very forgiving. I've never had too many issues. I always do one just because I know it is susceptible to being nose heavy, tail heavy. But
so it could run out either way.
It could. What happens is you tend to run out of elevator authority quicker than you would like when it's nose heavy, and then obviously tail heavy. You have those problems. So.
Yeah, not good.
But there's 2 different baggage compartments, a forward and a rear, and so if you just arrange what weights you have where, you can stuff this thing full and still be in CG.
Something to be aware of, but not to be afraid of.
Absolutely, yeah.
Handsome panel.
Yes. When we bought the airplane, it didn't have an AI or a DG. They were just, cardboard blocked up holes. And at the time I bought it, I lived in Washington, where it's cloudy a lot.
Right.
Right. And so the fear is inadvertent IMC. So one of the first things we did was purchase these AV30s and get those installed, so we have some reference for attitude and DG without, ever needing a vacuum system of that sort. So
I just noticed on the tail wheel here, we have a rather substantial looking unit.
Yes.
Still working it.
So this is the T3 tailwheel suspension. We've had it from the start, never had a leaf spring. We just installed this when we did the initial tailwheel conversion. It's a little dirty right now. It's amazing. It just turns every landing into a marshmallow.
Very plus.
Very plus. The map code taking a little, obviously it's wider than we typically see the stock. So it's really
It's Oshkosh Live, powered by Redbird Flight. We are about to wrap up in 2 minutes, 3 hours of coverage here on day 3, Ryan.
How's your throat feeling?
I'm feeling strong. Like you said, a lot of coffee, a lot of free merch.
A lot of merch.
Yeah.
Severed legs.
Our producer, Kaylee Nix, is crushing it. Our crew is crushing it. It's been an amazing day so far with a lot more to come. We're actually going to be throwing it to our man, Russ Niles from AvWeb next. What's he got cooking?
He's got the Lockheed Super Constellation. Pretty rare bird. It still flies. Sitting right out over here near Boeing Plaza. And he's checking it out live.
Awesome. We want to make a special thanks to Avemco. And let's throw it to Russ Niles now.
Tempest plays a vital role in the industry, and in today's world we are the leading spark plug and oil filter manufacturer for general aviation. We've been able to not only release new products, but we've taken legacy products and created innovations. We take great pride not only from a design standpoint, but from a manufacturing standpoint, all the way down to making sure the customer is satisfied with the product. Quality, innovation, performance. Tempest.
Hello everyone, Russ Niles reporting for AvWeb live from the cockpit of the most beautiful airplane on the field. Don't argue with me, you're wrong. The Lockheed Super Constellation Bataan is on Boeing Plaza. It is a beautifully restored Super Constellation. Was operated as the personal airplane for General Douglas MacArthur during the Second World War and afterwards. Just oozing with history, and it's such a great honor to be able to be on board this airplane. And it's truly a great honor to be in the presence of one of the greatest pilots in the world. Steve Hinton, you fly the Super Connie. Tell us all about it.
Well, I hate to correct you, but it's not a Super Connie.
It's not.
It's a Connie, but
it's
it
a Connie.
Is super. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, this is just what they call a baby Connie.
Ah.
Yeah, this is the like a 749. It's an Air Force C-121A, and built 1948. And like you mentioned, saw service with as General MacArthur's transportation, and it traveled all the South Pacific multiple times. After his tour of duty, he was retired from position, or as history books tell us, he was fired. It still remained in service and flew who's who. If you read the logbook, all the generals that you've heard about in history. This was one of the Pacific airplanes that flew them here and there and wherever. And pretty honored to be able to have it. The airplane, after its military tour, so to speak, it went to NASA. And it was one of 13 Connies they had at NASA that for NASA missions. It was an electronics communication airplane, and served in places all over the world with NASA. And then it was retired and went to Fort Rucker, and it was there for probably almost 20 years. And then the Planes of Fame Museum out of Chino, California, was able to acquire it. And we had it for 20 years there. We kept it out of Grand Canyon, our museum out of Grand Canyon. And when the Air Foundation came to us, and they were looking for a special airplane, and we realized that they had the ability and they had the reputation, and they can do a real nice job showing this to the people and taking care of it. That we made sure that they ended up with it, and it took us 8 years of rebuilding it to get her flying. We went down right down to the basic structure and all the systems, new engines, and everything about it. And most recently, we flew it about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, first several times. Put about 50 hours on it then. And then it just came out of the interior. So as you walk through it and notice the interior, it's very custom, but it's very period, and sticks with the patina, so to speak, of this airplane. So we're really proud of the airplane, and I think it's going to be available at many air shows for people to enjoy.
So the numbers change from time to time, but this is one of either 2 or 3 flyable Connies in the world, correct?
From what we've been able to tell, there's one in Australia that flies occasionally, and then we understand John Travolta just purchased the one that was in Kansas City, the Save Connie, and we know some of the fellas that are working on that right now to get it going, so hopefully we'll get that one going soon.
Okay, well, speaking of flying, what's it like to fly?
Well, I don't have a lot.
Run us through all the controls and stuff like that.
I don't have a lot of experience with big airplanes like this one, but I just tell everybody it flies like a big boat. It's smooth and nice and quiet and fast for what it is. I mean, it cruises at 300 miles an hour. Really, it's it carries 5,900 gallons of gas. If you want to fill it up, it'll go a long way. It's quiet and smooth and comfortable. We don't have an autopilot in it. It originally had an autopilot, and at some point in time we'll get one installed again. But the controls are heavy, but they're responsive. And we have a flight engineer sits in this third position here, you can see, and he's the busiest guy going. He handles all the starting and shutting down and power settings, cooling requirements, fuel control. So we have our intercom where we work as a team. Everybody has a function. The three of us here as a flight deck. But like I say, the goal was to make something that would be maintainable and be reliable. And so we were able to come up with the configuration we're in right now.
So how faithful is this to the original? It looks all so crisp and pristine and well put together. Is this how they came out of the factory?
Well, they're different colors. We tried to stay with the idea, try to make it simple and easy to maintain. But yeah, that's pretty much it. The flight engineer has a small area. He's got circuit breakers and switches, and we've added a few things here and there. But that's just basically it. Yeah.
So, flight engineer starts up. Give us an idea of the of taxi and run up and all of the processes that you go through. How long is the checklist?
Well, checklist isn't that long, but it still takes 5-6 minutes to go through it, and we work as a team. Our flight engineer and co-pilot work back and forth with the checklist, and we all respond. You go through the pre-start, then the after start, before taxi, before takeoff, and then after takeoff, and then in range when you're getting near the airport to land. We brief everything in between each one of those scenarios I told you about, then pre-landing check, and then after landing check, and parking check. So it sounds complicated, but it's really not. Our flight engineer, Jeff Weitzel, is a retired Delta captain and has a lot of experience in these kind of planes as well, too. And Stu Dawson and I both trade off flying. Stu right now is unavailable to fly right now, but he's very much... he was the experienced person. He's flown a lot of different big airplanes, and Stu did all the flying initially. But it's not a difficult plane to fly. What might be considered difficult is understanding how all this stuff works. It's to you look at it at first, you go, Jesus Christ. But in my experience, for instance, the biggest thing I ever flew before this was a B-17, B-24s, those kind of planes. Most of my times though is in fighters, but we rebuilt the airplane, so I already know how this stuff works enough to understand their operation. And with studying and coaching from Stu and Jeff, we have a good combination going, and we're real happy with it. The sponsor, Rod Lewis, who is the Air Legends founder, is being trained right now too. He'll be a captain before too long, and we expect to fly it at several events and use the airplane. You've got to remember history. This is a pretty important airplane, and it brings the technology and the history in front of people. It's so many people you walk around here and they look at this as, wow, what is it? Biggest thing they'd ever seen before was a jet. Now they look at this, they go, geez, wow.
State of the art in the 1950s, as good as it got for piston airliners, right? Piston.
This and the DC-7 were the epitome, the absolute, fastest, longest range airplanes flying before the jets came around.
So, Drew, draw your attention to this. I guarantee it didn't come out of the factory with that.
Air show smoke system. Yeah, that's just part of the display. And
so, you take it to air shows. What's the reaction?
Well, it's well accepted. Everybody that we've talked to never got a negative comment. They're impressed by not just its how clean it is and how polished in the paint job, but they stick a look in the wheel wells, and really it's easy to explain the technology back then, why it's this way. We get a lot of the basic questions all the time, as how fast is it, and how far will it go, what does it weigh, that kind of stuff.
You get people who've been on it?
Yes, surprisingly, not as many as you think, though. A lot of the old timers, and to have flown this in the military, you got to be in the 80s, and there are some 80-year-olds here. Matter of fact, here at Oshkosh, we met yesterday that were Constellation pilots. And, they use Constellations. The Super Connies, for instance, were modified to be, or not modified, built to be, Navy. Those Navy radar airplanes,
right?
And they'd be airborne all the time for 15, 16 hours, as their mission. That was kind of normal. And the airplane did a great service. It did what it was built to do, and we're fortunate enough, especially to have found one with this kind of history behind it. So,
okay, well, why don't we take a walk back through the cabin, and we'll show the beautiful, brand new interior that was created for this unbelievable airplane.
Yeah, the interior was installed by a company, Aero Metal, out of Aurora, Oregon. They're up near Portland.
We can stop up here. So this is kind of a crew rest area, right?
Yeah, a crew rest area right here. So, and if you look above, you can see where they were able to take celestial navigation. Back in those days, everything was an ADF navigation or a celestial navigation, especially over the water, those long distances.
Right.
And also over here, we don't have anymore, but they had like a periscope that would come up with a unit on top. You could look down, and it's called a drift meter, and you could watch the track of the airplane versus, I don't know how they figure out its cross track, like with winds and all that.
Well, there's a long flight necessity.
Yeah, this is a restroom that's been designed, and it's modern, obviously, but we tried to keep it with that, like I said, that patina of the era.
Kitchen, galley.
Yep. Kitchen, galley, you betcha. Conference room next. In the conference room, you see the table, how it's built with a Constellation name there. If you look behind you, here's a brief layout history of the airplane. As it first served as a C-121A, it was part of the Berlin airlift, and that became MacArthur's plane. And then lastly, all the way to the right, is when it was a NASA airplane. 422, NASA 422, the N number 422NA. Airplane's heated and air conditioned, and the air conditioning is all done electrically instead of from originally the outboard engines ran air compressors to pressurize the airplane and for heating and air conditioning, but we did not install. Probably 14,000 feet as high as we'll probably ever fly it. We flew it out here from Oregon in 5.5 hours at 11,500 feet. So the motor's right along about 300 miles an hour true airspeed. So it's
and how much fuel?
A lot. It burned probably, 2,700 gallons, something like that.
In the 5 hours?
Yeah.
So a little bit more than 500 an hour.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, just a little bit. Depends on the horsepower. If you slow it down, it gets more economical. But
a little bit more than your Corolla there, Drew.
It's like anything else. Get your foot down on the gas pedal there and go. And part of it too is we're learning the airplane, and we'll adjust accordingly depending on the mission and all.
All the comforts.
And it's well insulated, and you can have a conversation back here without raising your voice. It is, I wouldn't say noisy, but it is, when you got 5,000 horsepower out there and you're going 300 miles an hour, there's a lot of noise to contend with. Lastly, look at the back there. That's a rest area. And that bulkhead in the back was a pressure bulkhead, but if you had to go in the back and do any, the power unit is back there, and also if you had to do any maintenance for some reason, like you had a hydraulic leak in the flight controls, the flight controls are hydraulic boosted, but you could go back there and inspect it if you needed to.
One of the great things about live TV is now we have to go down a set of stairs to the concrete, and I don't think there's any elegant way to do that, is there, Drew? We're just going to do it.
Do it. Watch the cords, dude.
Okay, we're just going to walk around to the front of the airplane.
Get Stuart. He's right there.
Drew can pan around and show you what we're seeing, and it's all just so well put together. You guys did a fantastic job on
this. Well, I appreciate
airplane.
it. This is part of like I say, we had up to 17 different people working on this at times.
Look at the detail in this gear.
Yeah. But we had the outer wing panels off, all the flight control surfaces off, the gear was out of it, all engines were off, the whole interior was gutted, the whole tail section was off. I got to turn this over to Stuart. I'd like Stuart to say a few words.
Stuart,
how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good.
Stuart, what's your last name?
Dawson.
And you're one of the pilots?
Yeah, I am.
And how long have you been flying things like this?
I've been flying for 52 years.
But do you have a lot of warbird experience and that kind of stuff?
I've done quite a bit of that. I raced, over 20 years at Reno in the Unlimited division with stuff like this, 3350. This has 4 3350s on it.
I know.
And we did racing. I did air shows and all that, low-level aerobatics, and all the warbirds.
So we're just going to continue a walk.
Sure.
And why don't we learn a little bit about these fantastic engines. 3350s. So
Curtiss Wright.
Curtiss Wright 3350s. 18-cylinder?
Yeah.
So 2 banks of 9-cylinder radial power.
Yep.
Supercharged?
Yep.
So it grabs...
They have to be to make that much manifold pressure.
So how many? 350 horsepower?
I'm not sure exactly where these are, but like I said, we took these engines and turned them up higher than that and everything to race them at Reno.
Right.
making a whole lot of horsepower with more RPM.
Yep.
They're a really good engine. They're a really good engine. It's getting harder to get parts for them and everything, but they're pretty tough.
Yep, I bet they are. Are there any in the boneyards?
I'm sure there's a few in there. They're getting, like I say, they're getting harder to find. But Rod has a pretty good supply of them, I think.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Because we need to keep it flying for a long time, right?
Gosh, I hope so.
So we're gonna kind of come. Just tell us a little bit about the about operating these engines. What kind of boost do you have on them? And
well, we try not to overboost and everything. We don't have the real good fuel that we need now.
Right.
At Reno we did, but here we don't have.
So it's 100 low lead.
No, we can get That's basically all you can get.
Yeah.
Now, it's not really 100 low lead. It's a little bit more than that, and we can pull a pretty good horsepower.
Okay. Well, let's go out in front so that we can show the whole airplane. Looks like we got a gap over there, Drew.
Okay.
And in case you haven't figured it out, Drew's the cameraman, and he's being very patient with us, but we need to get done what we're getting done. So, how's that look? All right. So, what's the main message that this airplane says to the American people?
I don't know what other people think about this airplane, but since I was a kid, it was it.
I couldn't agree more. My favorite airplane ever.
Just the way it looks.
Yeah.
And the retail and everything, and it's pretty fast. You know, we sit there and cruise, not really trying anything, at 232, 40 knots.
Okay. And when you do an air show display, like are there high-speed passes and that kind of thing? Do you do active air shows, or is it static most of the time?
It is what Rod wants to do with it. If he wants to do an air show, we will put on an air show. We don't do aerobatics with it or anything, but we can do passes with it and everything. And
300-mile-an-hour passes?
Well, what they'll let us do there, according to the place and everything, we try to stay within our limits that are given to us.
Right. But once you get it up into those speeds, is it relatively nimble to fly, or is it like driving a boat through jet?
You got boosted controls. It's nice.
It's all direct, right? Yeah. Direct cable controls.
Well, yeah, but they're boosted.
Oh, they're boosted.
Yeah. Okay. And it's a great flying airplane. It's just big and it's heavy, and it takes longer for it to do what it wants to do.
So, it strikes me that that on the flare it would be prone to floating. Does it float, or is it?
Well, if you're too fast, it will.
Yeah.
But if you're on speed and everything, you can put it in. You know, reasonable distance, no problem.
Okay. How much room do you need?
Depending on how heavy you are, how high it is, and everything. Yeah. There's lots of stuff that you have to look at with this thing. This thing takes up a lot of area. You got to be careful taxiing it and everything, because look how far that wing's out there.
I know.
You can hit a lot of stuff with it.
Hit a lot of stuff with it.
But it's. I have to pinch myself. It's so great to fly. When I was a kid, so to speak, this was one of the airplanes that I, loved to look at, and never thought I'd get to fly it.
Well, I'm sure it's a great thing to fly.
Yes,
We're
it
just
is.
about done, Drew. Wrap it up now. Sorry, we're standing out on the tarmac. There's no queues. There's no producers looking at you, so I got to ask. Anyhow, I want to thank you so much for your time today.
Absolutely.
This is the most beautiful airplane on the field today. Anybody who's in Oshkosh, you got to come and see it. You unfortunately won't be able to get on it like we did, but I'm here to tell you that it is the most beautiful airplane I've ever seen. Russ Niles reporting for AvWeb from EAA AirVenture 25 in Oshkosh. Thanks for watching.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Steve Barnes. Ever since I can remember, I've been interested in airplanes. I've had several certified airplanes and got a little boring, so I decided to get into the home-built market. Years ago, I built an RV4, and that was great and exciting, but then I wanted something more, so I decided to build an RV6 around a 540 300 horsepower engine. And a friend of mine had done this before, and he had paved the way, and he had some of the information and drawings, though mine's different from his. And his is still in existence. It flew over 20 years ago for the first time, and it's been a joy to fly ever since. It flies pretty much like an RV6, it's just a little heavier. The fuselage is strengthened. It doesn't have the RV6 tail on it. It's got an RV8 empennage on it, which is rated at a 200 knot VNE. For this airplane, the RV6 had an ample 38 gallons, which is plenty for most flights, but I decided to take the same concept and make in 52 gallons. So it's 26 gallons per side, which gives me more range. I got about 1,000-mile range now. And to do that, I had to beef up the spars a little bit to accommodate the extra fuel. I made the wings stronger by putting extra stringers in it. The center section is identical to an RV6, which is extremely strong. Over the years, I've never heard of a case of wings breaking on an RV6 or an RV4. Well, when I first started flying this, it matched or exceeded my expectations. I got the speeds I wanted. I get really good economy, and every once in a while how fast it goes. The best I can get out of it is 200 miles an hour. However, there's an exception to that, and that is if somebody comes along with me and wants to pay for all the fuel, it'll easily cruise at 225 miles an hour. But I never go that fast. There's too much fuel to burn. As far as climb performance, with just me in it, on a cool day, it'll climb at 3,300 feet a minute. Although that's only been done in testing. I rarely do that. I fly it pretty much like it's an RV6 and do those sort of speeds. I've been very happy with it, but it's like having a 700 horsepower Corvette. You never use the power until you want to use it, because it's really not needed. I've taken the RV4 clear across the country and circle the Statue of Liberty. I've already done that, so I'm just happy flying this back and forth to Oshkosh or visiting friends in the Northwest, or going down to Arizona or to New Mexico, because it's a time machine. It gets me there so fast. So the most exciting thing I do with this airplane is I fly it up to a place called Johnson Creek in Idaho and camp and hang out with other pilots there. And it's just, you're in a deep V-shaped canyon. It's not for everybody, but it's a really nice runway. And going in the mountains, you really appreciate a plane with power in the mountains. So I do that every summer for the last 20 years, and sometimes several times in the summer. So that's pretty exciting. I take people up there, and they love it there.
Tempest plays a vital role in the industry, and in today's world, we are the leading spark plug and oil filter manufacturer for general aviation. We've been able to not only release new products, but we've taken legacy products and created innovations. We take great pride, not only from a design standpoint, but from a manufacturing standpoint, all the way down to making sure the customer is satisfied with the product. Quality, innovation, performance. Tempest.
Next. So where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Trashed.
Life's better when you're prepared, especially on the flight deck. Find a Redbird near you and fly like you've been there before.
I help people.
I create music.
I shape the future.
I am an entrepreneur.
I inspire people with more than words.
I ride forward.
The sky is not my limit.
Find your blue at MTSU.
It's Oshkosh Live, powered by Redbird Flight. We are still here, still rocking in the Redbird booth. The place is buzzing. Sun is coming out. Things are heating up again. We're in our last moments of day 3, but I really could not be more honored and more privileged to share this story as our main event for the day 3 broadcast. I would like to welcome to the anchor desk Quentin Smith with ERP, Elephants, Rhinos, and People. Quentin, great to be with you here. Thank you so much for making time. Man, I got so many questions, but let me just keep it simple because we obviously are talking to a lot of people who might be learning about ERP for the first time. Maybe you could share just a quick overview of who you are and what you do.
Happy to do that, and thanks for having us, Shawn. I really appreciate it. So, Elephants, Rhinos, and People, or ERP for short, is a non-profit that we founded a good 10 years ago. So we're actually celebrating our 10-year anniversary this year. And it's all predicated upon the fact of the conservation of elephants and rhinos through poverty alleviation. So that's why it's Elephants, Rhinos, and People. And, it's underpinned by a strategy to acquire land, and we've acquired large tracts of land in South Africa and putting boots on the ground to take care of the animals over there.
So tell us about the scale of the problem. What are we facing? What is ERP facing?
Yes, the reason why we founded the organization is due to the poaching endemic. I mean, these animals are currently, killed at a rate of 2 rhinos per day and 1 elephant every 15 minutes for the illegal trade of their horns and tusks. And just to put it in perspective for you, it sounds surprising, but it shouldn't really be, because the average price of rhino horn on the black market is $40,000 per pound. Now, that's about the price of gold today.
Wow, that's incredible. Before we were on air, we were having a chat, and I was mentioning Quentin's South African, and was making the mention that, this must feel like it's happening in your backyard, and that's why it's more special to you. But you made the point, this is not a South African or an African story. This is a Earth story. This is a global story. Maybe you could share a little bit about what you meant by that.
Yeah, absolutely, Shawn. I mean, it certainly hits home because I was born and raised there, but I've been living in the US for a good 20 years, and I think, one can relate very easily to it when it's there. But it's not an African problem. It's truly a global problem, or the planet's problem, and everybody's problem, because in one way this megafauna impacts the global weather patterns, and there's some interesting studies about that. But apart from that, just for future generations and protecting something that will outlive us, is something that's a collective problem, and that we all need to deal with.
Yeah. So we are at Oshkosh, obviously the biggest aviation celebration in the world, and aviation certainly ties into what ERP is doing with your Air Wing initiative. Tell us a little bit about ERP Air Wing.
Yeah, great question, Shawn. I mean, how do you bring the heaviest mammal on the planet, from aviation down to Earth? As I mentioned at the outset, our strategy is really about land acquisition. And, the more land we acquired, the more boots we needed to put on the ground. And it's just grown so big that we just can't do it anymore. It's just not not too many animals and not enough boots. So we needed an eye in the sky. So we reverted to general aviation and launched the ERP Air Wing. And the intention is to put a small fleet of single-engine aircraft in southern Africa, Namibia specifically, and because it's just a very sparsely populated country. And fly from there and fly anti-poaching missions and so on out of the sky.
So I know our viewers at home may not be able to see, but right outside the Redbird booth here, we have an NX Cub, an ERP NX Cub. We're here at the Redbird booth. Tell us a little bit about the aircraft and your relationship with Redbird.
Yes, so when we launched the program, we were fortunate that Redbird gave us a pioneering donation, which opened the door for a handful of other donors that gave us significant donations and put us in a position to acquire our first plane. So, we took delivery of it yesterday at the press release. It's standing right outside of the booth here, and we decided on Cub Crafter's NX Cub because we needed a backcountry aircraft, but we also needed one that's flexible and that all pilots can fly. And, the NX Cub is, of course, the nose wheel version of the X Cub, and extremely capable. There's really no compromise. But there's significant savings in terms of insurance and reduction in risk and things like that, which is why we opted for the plane.
Well, the ERP story is spreading far and wide here at Oshkosh, including a press conference that took place yesterday. Let's take a look at that now.
Okay, welcome everybody. Thanks for coming out. I appreciate you taking the time. I know there's a lot of other media stuff going on today, so thanks for making time for ERP to come by here and watch as we take delivery of our first airplane, and I think it's going to be the very first NX Cub in Africa.
It will be.
First NX Cub in Africa when we get it over there in a couple of months. You should all have a copy of the press release, and if you don't, Don can get that for you. We also have thumb drives for you, and they have the press release on it. They also have photos and backgrounders and a bunch of other information, and all that same information is available on a link that's on the press release out on a Dropbox site, so you can download high-res images, bios, and all that sort of thing. So with that, let me introduce Quentin Smith, who is one of the directors of ERP.NGO, Elephants, Rhinos, and People, the nonprofit organization that's behind the whole thing. Quentin.
There you go. Thanks for that introduction, Tom, and welcome everybody. Thanks for coming over. Just a few words on ERP. So Elephants, Rhinos, and People has been in existence for 10 years, and our whole strategy is underpinned by the conservation of elephants and rhinos through poverty alleviation. And what we do is we acquire big pieces of land so that we can take care of the animals over there, and we're on track to acquire 2.5 million acres. And that's what we ultimately want to get to. And part of the challenge is, the more land you have, the more boots on the ground you need to protect them. And we got to a point where we just couldn't do that anymore and decided to launch the ERP Air Wing. Through the generous support from our friends at Redbird, Charlie and his team has just been fabulous. They paved the way for a number of other small group of donors that donated significant amounts of money. They put us in a position to acquire our first plane, and Cub Crafters helped us in any way they can to get there. And so that's our first plane. And for the second plane, we had a lot of pilots coming to us and say, look, we'd love to participate and contribute, but the donation levels you guys are talking about is not quite in our reach. So what we decided to do is to launch a signature campaign in which we'll give 500 pilots the opportunity to donate $1,000 each, and then they'll get their name on the plane and an opportunity to fly in Africa at some point. And once we have the second plane, we'll put them both in a container, ship them over to Africa, and start executing on our mission. So very excited about that. I'm going to hand it over to Brad Dam, VP of Sales from Cub Crafters, He's just been a friend of ERP and a big supporter of the organization. Brad.
All right. Well, thank you, Quentin. Cub Crafters has been building airplanes for conservation since the mid-1980s. So when first Tom and then Quentin approached us about being part of this project, we were all in from day one. Super excited about it. We think it's amazing the work that they're already doing and the multiplier effect that these airplanes will have on that work. It's going to be saving dozens of rhinos, hundreds of elephants, impacting the lives of thousands of people in Africa. So we're super excited about it. This airplane here is a Cub Crafters NX Cub. So it's the nose wheel variant of our Part 23 certified X Cub. And it's a very easy airplane to fly. Part of this, one component of this, like Quentin mentioned, is U.S. pilots coming to Africa and having the opportunity to fly these airplanes. And we wanted the airplanes to be available to as wide a range of people as possible. Only 15% of U.S. pilots have a tailwheel endorsement. So having the extremely backcountry capable nose wheel variant of the airplane made a whole lot of sense for everybody involved. This will be the first airplane going. The second airplane is either in the process of being built or just about to start being built. I'd have to check our schedule. And then both of these airplanes will be going to Africa. And then hopefully we'll be able to scale it from there and have a whole bunch of airplanes doing a lot of conservation work in South Africa and Namibia.
There you go.
And with that, I think we have a little piece of paper here we need to sign.
Been looking forward to it. Let's make it official. There we go. Thanks, man. There we go.
All right, and with that, there is the new airplane.
Thank you, sir.
Begins.
Yes, appreciate that.
That was great. Thanks for sharing that. That was ERP's press conference yesterday. One of the familiar faces you would have seen in that video is right here next to me, Quentin Smith with ERP. Quentin, what's the next aircraft in queue for your fleet?
Yes, that's exactly the point we're at now. Took delivery of our first one, so part of the logistics to make it economic to ship them over is you need two. To put one container takes 2 aircraft. So we actively raising funds for our second aircraft. So, like I mentioned earlier, this first aircraft was acquired with big donations from a smaller group of people. But a lot of pilots came to us and said, look, we'd love to support what you guys are doing, but the donation levels that you're looking at is a bit of a stretch for us. So we kind of pivoted to the opposite end and say, look, we're going to give 500 pilots the opportunity to donate $1,000 each. And we launched the signature campaign, which is basically, if you make the donation, we'll sign your name on the plane. So it's going to be 250 signatures on the one side and 250 signatures on the other side, and it's going to be an aircraft by pilots for pilots.
That's amazing.
You'll have your name flying in Africa, until you get there to do so yourself.
That's incredible. In doing research for this interview, just this stat jumped out to me. Over 97% of the black rhino population lost in the past 60 years. That's just staggering.
It is. I mean, the black rhinos are critically endangered. And what's also interesting is that 80% of the world's population of elephants and rhinos are in southern Africa. So, those countries, South Africa, Namibia, Botswana, Zimbabwe, that kind of area of the world.
So I didn't mean to bring it down. Certainly a very heavy statistic there. But maybe as we get ready to wrap it up, tell maybe a couple success stories or a couple happy moments or achievements that ERP has had that you could share that makes us feel like, we are making an impact. We are on the upswing here.
Yeah, I'll offset that with a sad one and then bring you back. But I think what really inspired us to do this is I personally took a photo of a little baby rhino in a rhino orphanage, and that's what we have now in South Africa or in Southern Africa, because poachers come out, they would kill the mothers because their horns are big enough and don't care about the babies because their horns are not big enough. And I tell you what, when even though you were not there next to me, but if you see that guy and this vulnerability between his brothers and sisters, it moves something in you and inspires you to do something about it. So we did, and that was how we founded ERP, Elephants, Rhinos and People. And I can tell you that the areas that we control now, and we are on track to acquire or control 2.5 million acres.
That's incredible.
So big pieces of land, because you have to control that to protect the animals. And in the areas where we have air surveillance, we've had zero poaching. So
wow.
We've been able to, not reduce the safety rate or anything like that, but really bring it down to zero.
So clearly, there are going to be people moved by your story, the story of ERP. For those who want to get involved, support, be a part of the story, where can they find you? What's the best place to locate you?
Yes, our website is really easy. It's erp.ngo. So Echo Romeo Papa, November Golf Oscar. For our pilots. So, you can go there and there's an opportunity right at the top of the page. It says donate, and you can go to our signature page, signature campaign page and contribute there. And we'd be very grateful for any support we can get.
Well, we could not have ended on any more special or impactful story than the ERP story, Elephants, Rhino, and People. Quentin Smith, thank you so much for what you're doing and what you continue to do. We're rooting for you. We're cheering for you in the organization. And thank you so much for making time with us.
Thank you.
That is a wrap on day 3 of Oshkosh Live. But be back with us tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Central Time for day 4, the final day of broadcasting from the world's largest aviation celebration. Thank you so much for being with us. I'm Shawn Bean. Have a great day.